4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Live from the Play Show, yet not overly ostentatious studios of the Infinity Sports Network here in beautiful New York City, sitting on top of the 10th floor of 345 Hudson Street. Welcome into what is a Monday edition of the Zach Gelb Show across all the great local Infinity Sports Network affiliates, Sirius XM, Channel 158, the free Odyssey app, and, of course, streaming live on YouTube. 855-212-4227 is the number to jump on in. That's 855-212-4227. You could always get at me on Instagram, where I'm straight flexing, or via the good old cesspool of Twitter, X, at Zach Gelb. That is ZACHGELB. Jamaal Charles, the former NFL running back with the Kansas City Chiefs, played his college ball with the Texas Longhorns. He's going to join us coming up an hour from now, and we got a lot to unpack from what was a busy weekend. The college football, how about Indiana? Unbelievable story, just taking it to Nebraska. Georgia shows everybody why they are the top dog once again with their performance up against Texas. Alabama, yikes. Smoke them, obviously. Tennessee. And there's a bunch of other takeaways which did transpire in the NFL. Deshaun Watson looking like he's done in Cleveland now. The Jets continue to be the biggest joke in the NFL. Kansas City is still undefeated. We'll get into all the crazy storylines in the NFC in just a second. But I think there are some people tuning in today that they like to watch my pain and they like to hear my pain. I'm actually not really in a miserable mood today. Like, I think there's some people that are tuning in to say, okay, let me hear Zach sound off about the Mets. Did I want a Game 7 tonight? Was I asking for a Game 7 once we were going into a Game 5? And I said, hey, just win Game 5, then I'll feel confident about Game 6. And anything could happen in Game 7. Of course I wanted a Game 7. You know, this is not 1983 radio where, you know, you can't have an opinion. You can't show who you root for. I am not a journalist. I am a talk show host. So I wanted the Mets to win, but I look at where the Mets were before the start of the season. And I thought this team was at best an 83-84 win team. And when we were in May, I was just saying, man, I can't even believe they couldn't even get you through the summer because the season felt over. And for this team to fight the way that they did fight, sometimes you just run into a team where even if there is that feeling of team of destiny, even though this team had elite team chemistry and they always just found a way to win, when you're going up against the best team in baseball, you can't leave guys in scoring position. And the Mets did that way too many times, as you saw in Game 4 and their ultimate demise, which was Game 6. And I said this all along. I felt very confident the Mets were going to split one out of the first two. But then they had to win 2 out of 3 at Citi Field at home to go win this series. And the Mets didn't do so with stinkers in Game 3 and Game 4. So a tip of the cap to the Los Angeles Dodgers. If I separate my baseball fandom and wanting the Mets to get there, this is the best thing for Major League Baseball. The Yankees, they had a bye to the World Series. That's not me taking away anything the Yankees did. You know, you look at Aaron Judge finally playing in the Fall Classic. It's a feel-good story with Giancarlo Stanton, and Juan Soto had the big home run heroics. To get Judge, though, and Soto going up against Shohei Ohtani and Mookie Betts, and look at the career Mookie Betts has had. Won a World Series with the Red Sox, won a World Series with the Dodgers, and now, in a week and a half from now, could be winning another World Series in Major League Baseball. To have the AL MVP, the NL MVP, the two best players in the game go at it, it is phenomenal for Major League Baseball. And the Yankees had their moment over the weekend. The Dodgers, after not being able to get the job done on Friday in Game 5, they had their moment, and that was last night as the Dodgers are off to the World Series. And Shohei Ohtani, isn't it a nice thing when you don't play for the Angels and you're actually in the postseason? So the Mets, a magical run, a phenomenal ride. You know, I have to think about it where I rank it in the best Mets team I've seen or the most fun Mets team I've seen. Before this season, it was 06 and 2015. This team is in the top 3. Are they 2? Are they 1? I don't know. But I just hope that my team can get back there next year and after Steve Cohen has a big offseason, because I do think this was a punt season for the Mets, that they go all in, and then this time next year, we're talking about the Mets in the World Series. So I was upset last night because even though for 98% of the season, I didn't think this Mets team could win a World Series, after they beat Philadelphia, I was like, okay, this team could do anything. And, it probably in hindsight being 2020 would have been better if they had the Padres than the Dodgers, because that Dodgers team, geez, even with their problems with the starting rotation and all the injuries, their lineup, it does not have a single hole in the lineup. And Freddie Freeman is the craziest part. He missed 2 games in this series. He's not even 100%. So, Stu, good luck to your Yankees. You're going to need it.
Yeah.
Because this Dodgers team, they probably scared the crap out of you, right? It does feel like these are the 2 best teams. Like the best team in the AL was the Yankees. The best team in the NL were the Dodgers. But we'll get your official prediction on Friday when Game 1 is going to happen. And maybe for the ceremonial first pitch, Mezahara will throw out the ball. Ohtani's interpreter. That would be fun. I know Major League Baseball won't play into that. But just give me the quick minute before we get to the football because, hey, I get it. Football is king in this country. We will get to college. We will get to the NFL coming up momentarily and for the rest of the program. But give me your level of confidence heading into the World Series, the Fall Classic that gets underway on Friday when Stu's New York Yankees are in the World Series going up against the Los Angeles Dodgers. Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a long series. I don't think it's going to be a short series by any stretch. It's going to be tough for the Yankees, though. Like you said, the Dodgers are just absolutely loaded. The crazy thing is, like Ohtani, we see what he's done with runners in scoring position. His numbers for the playoffs aren't all that crazy. Mm-hmm. I mean, Yankees are going to have to get really, really good starting pitching because that might be the one thing with the Dodgers is they're going to have to probably do a bullpen game or 2. The starting pitching might not be, elite. So that's the one thing I'm hanging my hat on is, get good starting pitching and get to their pitching. That's the name of the game, but that's kind of what they're going to have to do.
And the fundies have to be just at a great point yes. for the Yankees because they were terrible up against the Guardians and Clay Holmes could be an X factor for you guys. If you get bad Clay Holmes, turn out the lights. You ain't winning. If Clay Holmes could look like the way that he's looked in other years, then that could be a different story. So we got a ton of time this entire week.
A whole week. We have a whole week until the first
game. To talk Yankees Dodgers. Yeah, quite frankly, I don't even want to talk about it, but we will talk about it because it is the 2 biggest stars in the sport. All righty, let's get to the football. I want to start with the NFC. Yesterday, you got to see the Packers hold on against the Texans. By the way, I had an anytime touchdown parlay yesterday, so I was very happy about that. A 3-leg anytime touchdown parlay. But a miserable, and I mean a miserable beat for me in the gambling world. I had the Packers laying 2.5. They won the game by 2 lousy points. So to lose by a half is just absolutely miserable. But I thought the Packers would win the game. The Packers did. Give credit to the Packers defense for the way that they bottled up C.J. Stroud. And the offense wasn't perfect, but when they were needed to go on a drive that wins a game, they did that. So give credit to the Packers for beating the Texans. The Eagles, it was a Saquon Barkley day. Does this change my opinion? Does this change my feeling on the Philadelphia Eagles? No. The Giants are a god-awful team. I don't trust Nick Sirianni. He is not an adult. He should not be an NFL head coach anymore. He is not fit to be an NFL head coach anymore in the year of 2024. But Saquon just absolutely abused the New York Football Giants in his return to MetLife Stadium. The 49ers lose to the Chiefs. I know it's easy to say, hey, it's the Chiefs. Hey, it's Mahomes. Hey, it's Andy Reid. Hey, it's Steve Spagnuolo. Nonsense. All right? Kansas City has been begging teams to beat them. They've been begging teams to beat them. Their defense has been better than their offense for now a year plus. But it doesn't matter. And we need to have a conversation now about Brock Purdy, who is a good quarterback. But when 49ers fans want to make him out to be Montana or Steve Young when he wins, you need to have that same energy and you need to have an honest conversation when they lose. Because we know who the San Francisco 49ers kryptonite is. It's the Chiefs. And it's easy as a sports fan to chalk it up and say, hey, that's just a team that has our number. Somebody else got to take care of them in the AFC. And maybe someone else does take care of them in the AFC. But with that being said, with what we've seen from the 49ers this year, do they have the talent to get to the Super Bowl again? Yes. But this is different than the other years. I just don't know if the 49ers this season are going to have what it takes to get to the Super Bowl again. Who knows when McCaffrey's coming back? And who knows when he's actually going to be able to be on the field? It looks like Brandon Ayuk is now done for the season. And this has been a team that they have a lot of wear and tear on the body. And the quarterback can't find a way, even though Steve Spagnuolo may be the greatest defensive coordinator of all time, they can't find a way to crack the code against Spags. So that performance yesterday and the amount of turnovers and the bad decision-making that you saw from Brock Purdy was alarming. Because we know the 49ers, they are a team that they have what it takes. But when you start to be a football team that week in and week out has blunders, I know it's easy for the 49er fan to just say, oh, just get there. But then what happens if you lose a few more games that you're not expected to lose? And I'm not saying that yesterday was a lock win. You're going up against the best team in football. But blowing that game against the Cardinals was alarming. The Rams aren't a good team this year. You lost to them. This is a football team that's sitting at 3-4. And I know you got Dallas coming up on Sunday night. And Dallas is not a great football team. But we're going to learn a lot about the 49ers the next 4 to 5 weeks. Against Dallas, they get a bye. Then they play Tampa Bay in Tampa. They got a rematch with Seattle, even though they just beat them a few weeks ago. And you play Green Bay and Buffalo. You know, I'm just going to be curious how we're talking about heading into December, the San Francisco 49ers. But yesterday, I thought the story was just how god-awful Brock Purdy was. And Brock Purdy in the season has 9 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. And he had 3 interceptions yesterday. He was brutal. 17 of 31 for 212 yards and 3 interceptions. No passing touchdowns. They have 2 rushing touchdowns in the game. So I look at the Niners. They were the team. You know, I know Philly went to the Super Bowl 2 years ago. The Niners last year, they went to the Super Bowl. Like, you have the conversation of who the team is to beat in the NFC. I don't think it's Philadelphia this year. I don't think it's the 49ers this year. My confidence is growing in Green Bay. I like what I'm seeing from Minnesota, even though they lost yesterday in a very close game. And I will still have trust issues with Sam Darnold, but he is playing well. And that team is just loaded with talent. They'll get Hawkinson back. You got Aaron Jones. You got Justin Jefferson. You got Jordan Addison. And Brian Flores has done a phenomenal job with that defense. But the team that I actually had the most confidence in, it's the Detroit Lions, who found a way to get a victory yesterday up against the Vikings. That was a team, even after a slow start yesterday, and a week ago losing their best defensive player in Aiden Hutchinson, they were able to brush that off, and they were able to do what it takes to get a victory. And I think going into this season, right, there was a lot of fringe quarterbacks in terms of your fringe being a fringe top 10 guy. Jared Goff is not only playing like a top 10 quarterback right now, he has a serious MVP case to be made with what he's been able to do. Goff has been really damn good. St. Brown could be my favorite player in the NFL right now. Jahmyr Gibbs is awesome. Ben Johnson's a tremendous offensive coordinator. And how can't you dislike, you got to love Dan Campbell and the energy that he brings. And we know how good that offensive line is for the Detroit Lions. Now, the Lions, they don't need that defense to be great. They just need that defense to be average. They need that defense to just get timely stops. Heck, look at what happened with Kansas City. I know Kansas City now, their defense is the strength of that team, which is crazy to say, but it's true. But early on in this Chiefs run, it was, can the defense just get a timely stop? Can the defense just be average or above average? And it wasn't like early on in their first Super Bowl victory with Mahomes, the Chiefs defense was great. They were down by a lot right out of the gate. But when they needed to, they had players step up. And that's all you need out of this defense in Detroit. When it is crunch time, even if they didn't play a great game, but you're still in it in the third quarter, can you make the necessary stops in the fourth quarter? But I love what I'm seeing out of the Lions. And I think right now, and I know we're not totally 7 weeks into the season because you got the 2 games tonight. So after tonight, you'll have 7 weeks through the NFL season. I think the Lions are the team to beat in the NFC. And I'm not saying it's a lock, but I would be disappointed if we're sitting here Super Bowl Sunday in New Orleans and the Lions aren't in the big game. And I look at inside that NFC North, I really do believe, even if it's not the Lions, the NFC representative in the Super Bowl this year is coming out of the North. The Niners have concerns. I'm not buying into the Seahawks, even though it was a great victory yesterday up against the Falcons. Whoever wins the NFC South, their ceiling, right, maybe is 1 playoff win. I don't think you're getting 2. I don't believe in the Eagles. Commanders, good story. They could win the division. They're not going to the Super Bowl this year, and we'll see what happens with the health of Jaden Daniels. We know the Cowboys, they're allergic. Forget the Super Bowl. Since 95, they've been allergic to just getting to the NFC title game as well. So I look at the NFC North. That should have the Super Bowl representative out of the NFC this year. And I would say the Lions right now are at the top of that list for me. But man, even in a loss yesterday, the Vikings are a good team, and I'm not going to count out the Green Bay Packers. I'm really starting to buy some stock in the Packers because they didn't even play their best brand of football on the offensive side of the ball yesterday, and they still found a way to get it done, and that defense did a really good job up against C.J. Stroud, and I like that Packers secondary a lot. The NFC North's a whole lot of fun. And then you got the Bears who, they're not going to the Super Bowl this year, but they're alive to go make the postseason after what was a sloppy start, and Caleb Williams starting to play like a franchise quarterback. So right now, who's the team to beat in the NFC? For me, it's the Detroit Lions. And once again, I'll say it again for like the 4th time in this segment. I would be surprised at this rate if when we are sitting there Super Bowl Sunday, if the representative from the NFC does not come from the NFC North. It is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. What say you? 855-212-4227. 855-212-4227. We will tap into the college football scene next. I'll give you 3 college football takes after what was a very busy Saturday of college football. But first, football is back, and what better way to celebrate than winning some cash with Sleeper Picks? Sleeper Picks is a fantasy game, but you can win real money. Just pick more or less than at least 2 player stats. If your picks are right, you win. You can pick up to 8 players to win up to 100 times your money, and Sleeper has a couple huge offers to kickstart the football season. For new users, Sleeper will match your first deposit with up to $100 credit to your account. If you've already played, Sleeper's got discounted player projections for you every week of the season. So download the Sleeper app now and use promo code SCORE, that's SCORE, and your first deposit will be doubled with a credit up to $100. What are you waiting for? Download Sleeper today and use my code SCORE for a credit up to $100 match on your first deposit. That's code SCORE. Must be 18 years in most states and in state where it is legal. Promo code and other restrictions apply. Visit sleeper.com. Please wager responsibly. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-426-2537 for help. Paid for by Blitz Studios.
You're in a 4-minute break. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
All righty, this is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. So I told you guys I was getting a new bed in my apartment. So I secured the new mattress. And since it's a bigger mattress, I needed a bigger bed frame. So I said, all right, let me go be a grown-up and let me go to a nice store to get a nice, sturdy, large bed frame. So Saturday, I had to do my show on WFAN, and that's a quick 30-minute hit from 9 to 9:30. And I said, let me go out to Long Island to go get the nice big bed frame. I know a place from where I grew up as a kid. So I got on the train, went to go say hello to my parents, got in the car, and the 12 o'clock slate, like, let's just be honest, for college football this weekend was not great. And you knew that there was a huge game at 3:30 between Tennessee and Alabama, and then you had the big game coming up at night at 7:30 between Texas and Georgia. So I said, okay, let me dedicate this Saturday early on to do so, but I wanted to keep it moving quickly. So I walked in the store, and it was a very quick process. Very quick. And when I walked in, I was like listening to the Nebraska-Indiana game on Sirius, and Indiana gets off to this incredible start. They're up 14-0. And then when I'm pulling into the spot in the parking lot to walk into the furniture store to go get the bed frame, Nebraska scores. Nebraska scored a touchdown to make it 14-7 in the second quarter with 7:40 remaining. So, Stu, I walk into the store with 7:40 remaining in the first half. And it only took me from the end of 7:40 remaining of the second quarter to then halftime when I'm walking out. So I'm like, okay, I'll race home to my folks' place, and I will watch the third quarter and the fourth quarter, the second half, and enjoy a game that I was really pumped up to see with Indiana and Nebraska. When I walked out at that furniture store and I paid the money for the bed frame, shipping to my apartment, it's going to come in on Saturday. I looked at my phone and I'm like, 28-7. So Indiana scored 2 touchdowns in like 7 minutes that I was in that furniture store. They scored a touchdown with 3:47 left in the half, and then another one with 1:09 left, and that was the game at 28-7. And then in the second half, Nebraska was like, hey, we're not even going to show up, as it was an Indiana party, and Indiana had 28 points in the second half to win 56-7. I got to give all the credit in the world to Coach Cignetti at Indiana, because remember when he took that job? He was brash. He was bold. He said, look at my resume. All I do is win. He was talking a big game for being the head coach at Indiana. And it's one thing, right, when you beat Western Illinois and FIU and UCLA and Charlotte and Maryland and Northeastern. And not that Nebraska is this great program, but it's the biggest name program they're playing so far. And it was their biggest test of the season. And you're at home. You got to sell out. Fans are rocking. You got to win that game. But I thought that was going to be a close game down to the wire. And that game was over at halftime. 56-7. Indiana beats Nebraska. And I'll give credit to Hickey, which Hickey, we'll get to him on Wednesday. He's too much of a fraud when it came to the Mets. Like, oh, I'm the guy. If they're going to win the World Series, then he gave up on the team after a loss in Game 5, and then the next day a loss in Game 4, and then they win Game 5 after saying the season was over, and then he's like, oh, they're going to win the World Series again. He's just all over the place. Like, once you change, you then can't change back. You can't say they're going to win the World Series, then they're going to lose, then the next day, like 5 hours later, oh, they're going to win the World Series again, and then tweet out, oh, I think the Mets are finally in trouble. Like, no, you thought they were in trouble enough. But I'll give credit to Hickey. Hickey last week said, don't be surprised if Indiana makes the playoffs. And just sometimes that does not register in someone's brain where you hear Indiana making the playoff and you're like, what is he talking about? But you look at Indiana's schedule the rest of the way. They play Washington, Michigan State, Michigan, Ohio State, and Purdue. You know, the Washington Huskies are 4-3. The Spartans at Michigan State are 4-3. Michigan, yikes, over the weekend to Illinois. They're 4-3. Ohio State, they have one loss. They're 5-1. And then Purdue is a bad football team at 1-6. Now, they win all those games besides Ohio State, and they're sitting there at 11-1. We're talking in a world where Indiana will be a Big Ten representative, maybe not conference champion, but a Big Ten representative and one of the representatives from the Big Ten in the college football playoff. Now, I'm going to be fascinated how they play, and it will tell me a lot about Indiana coming up this weekend against Washington. And here's what they have going for them. The game's at home, and Washington is flying to them. And it's a noon Eastern time kick. If that game was in Washington and they had to go across the country, that could be a letdown spot after the great emotional blowout ass kicking of the Nebraska Cornhuskers. But that game being at home and Washington had to go there and play at 12 p.m. Eastern time, I think is a spot where the letdown will be avoided. But yeah, that's a takeaway. Indiana, they should make the college football playoff this year. You should beat Washington. You should beat Michigan State. You should beat Michigan, lose to Ohio State, and then beat Purdue. So we'll see if they could do that. All right, next college football take. I read a lot of mock drafts. I think it's a good way to just see what people are processing and thinking about what they see with some really good college football players. And it helps you prepare for the draft if you do that work now than just trying to cram it in like the week before the NFL draft. And I'm a huge college football fan. I'm a huge NFL fan. Quite frankly, I think these days I'm liking college football more than the NFL. I think I watch all the games on Saturday, all the games on Sunday. or the majority of them. And I think I'm more satisfied watching football on Saturdays now than I am on Sundays. But I was following some mock drafts heading into this weekend, and a lot of them had Carson Beck, Quinn Ewers, and Jalen Milroe as top 15 picks. I think the two best draft prospects for quarterbacks for this upcoming year are Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward. And I'm looking at these mock drafts, and I'm like, Jalen Milroe shouldn't be going in the top 15. Quinn Ewers, I said this for a while, I think he's a really good college quarterback. I don't think he's a pro quarterback. And the guy I've been the most disappointed in, because I thought he was going to be the first quarterback off the board before the year did start, is Carson Beck. Carson Beck was terrible in the first half up against Alabama a few weeks ago. And then, quite frankly, up against Texas, I know they went on a nice drive when the game was starting to change, but he wasn't all that special up against Texas either. So if I'm a team like Stu, if your Raiders are looking for a quarterback early in the draft and you wind up with Jalen Milroe, Quinn Ewers, or Carson Beck, I know the Raiders need a quarterback, but just because you draft a quarterback doesn't mean you have the quarterback. I would not be doing somersaults in the street. I would not be doing the worm, and I would not be jumping up and down like a fat kid in a candy store if my team is using a top 15 pick, a first-round pick on Milroe, Ewers, or Beck still. I'm just not.
I totally agree with you, and I was pretty high on all three of these guys going into the year, especially Beck. I thought Beck was top 2 or 3 pick potential, and he has not shown that at all.
And you know what concerns me about Beck? The expectations were all the way up here. And it's one thing if you don't meet the expectations, but you got to be a little bit further down. You can't be like in the middle. And Milroe, it's like he let everything out in that first half up against Georgia. And since then, his awareness is horrific. Horrific. Just the decision making. How Alabama lost that game to Tennessee. And I knew they were in trouble when at halftime it was only 7-0. Because it felt like they should have been up by a whole lot more. But the decision-making this weekend from some of these college football quarterbacks, yikes. And then the last takeaway, Oregon right now is the number 1 team in the country. I have not thought if I will put Oregon or Georgia, that will be the decision in the number 1 spot on Take 5 Wednesday when I give you my top 5 teams in college football. But there's a difference in who gets that number 1 spot right now and then knowing in the back of your mind who is the team to beat in college football. And even though Georgia lost to Alabama a few weeks ago, and Alabama since then has had a rancid product, losing to Vanderbilt, barely beating South Carolina, and then just finding a way to have a terrible second half up against Tennessee. Georgia, to me, is still the team to beat. Georgia, what they did in the second half was special, even though they lost up against Alabama. So it doesn't excuse what they did in the first half, but it showed you that even when that team was getting their teeth kicked in, that they had the heart of a champion. They weren't going to go down without a fight. And then to go into Texas and to have that game play out the way that it did, where they threw a punch like Alabama did to them in the first half, just like how Georgia just did to Texas, and Texas was slowly coming back, right? You had the quarterback change, then they go back to Ewers. And when that interception happened, it was a terrible DPI call, let me be clear. Should not have been called. But the fact that the fans threw the trash on the field and then bullied the officials, and the officials overturned the call and said there was no penalty on a play that's not reviewable, that was nonsense to me. And like they got the call right, but how they got it right was terrible. And in that moment, you could have seen Georgia crumble. I know they allowed the touchdown, but they get the ball back and they march right down the field and they put the ball in the end zone on 4th and goal at the 1-yard line. I would love to see a Georgia-Oregon national championship game. But right now, what Georgia did on Saturday night, even though it wasn't perfect and even though it wasn't great, they showed that they're still the team to beat in college football. And 2 out of the last 3 years, they've won the national championship. And in the last 3 years, they've only had 2 losses. And both of those losses were at Alabama. So those are my 3 takeaways from this weekend of college football. Indiana should make the playoffs. Milroe, Ewers, and Beck, to me, aren't worth the first-round pick. And Georgia is still the team to beat. And they're still the top dog in college football. 855-212-4227, 855-212-4227. Always on social media, at Zach Gelb, at INF Sportsnet is where you can find us. You can follow me individually on social media, Twitter and Instagram, at Zach Gelb. We will take a time out. When we come on back, we'll update you some of the biggest stories in the world of sports with some audio. Let's get to a news brief when we come on back, but update time first. Here is the Act Man, Rich Ackerman.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
And it's sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Protect your family, your phone, and your furry friends with Life electronic device and pet health insurance. The AFC North is a battle again between the Steelers and Ravens. Pittsburgh improved to 5-2 last night. The Ravens will try to follow suit tonight. They meet the Bucs in the first of 2 Monday night games this week. Baltimore has won 4 straight after back-to-back losses to open the season. Lamar Jackson has been brilliant. Derrick Henry has led the best rushing attack in the league. The future Hall of Famer said it'll be put to the test tonight by a stout Bucs defense.
A very good team, very good defense, and who plays hard, who flies to the ball. I think they're solid all around, very solid. Probably one of the best defenses we've faced this year. So it's going to be a good one, a tough matchup.
The second game of the night features the Chargers and Cardinals in Arizona. Jaden Daniels' status for next week is uncertain due to a rib injury, which is not considered serious. The Dolphins' Tua Tagovailoa has been cleared to return when Miami meets the Cardinals next weekend. He has missed the last 4 games after another concussion. Deshaun Watson officially done for the year with a torn Achilles, while Raiders quarterback Aiden O'Connell out up to 6 weeks with a broken thumb. I'm Rich Ackerman.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Follow us on Instagram. Our handle is Infinity Sports Network. That's Infinity Sports Network to follow us on Instagram.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Time for your daily news brief. We get you caught up on the rumors, reports, and reconnaissance from the day in sports.
And it's time to Ask the Pros, where you, the listener, gets to ask us a question. It's brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Simply tweet your question at INF Sportsnet or at Zach Gelb using the hashtag Ask the Pros. Be listening later in the show when we might answer your question. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Hey, Aaron Rodgers, the Jets stink. So how do you get your guys to believe moving forward?
How do you get everybody to keep the belief? And it seems like a lot of the same mistakes.
Stop listening to you guys. Number one. Number two, I got to play better. That's the key.
Yeah, you do got to play better. But I don't think this is a media issue. The Jets aren't 2-5 because they listen to the media. Because, Stu, correct me if I'm wrong, I thought the media was more on the positive side than the negative side heading into this season for the Jets. There was a lot of hype with the Jets. Now it's ugly. Now it's dreary. But this idea that this is the media's fault is just like a last-ditch effort by Aaron Rodgers. I got to find a way to create an enemy here for us to rally around. But it's like Sauce Gardner, Quinnen Williams, Garrett Wilson saying, oh, yeah. Like, are they naive enough to be like, this is the media's fault? Whatever you say, King Aaron, if that's the case, like, geez, the Jets are cooked. But then they're, like, really cooked if they actually think this is the media's fault. You're a 2-5 football team, Aaron. All right? You've gotten everything you've wanted in New York. It's time for you to start looking like the Aaron Rodgers of old and stop with these excuses. Here is Aaron Rodgers. Let's play one more glorious cut from Aaron Rodgers and the loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I just felt like the energy, and it starts with me, the energy, for whatever reason, at halftime was a little flat. I felt like it was flat before the game, too. I mean, Sunday Night Football. So I got to look at myself and what I can do to bring better energy, but we all gotta do better. But for whatever reason today, it just kind of seemed a little flat in warm-ups. I mean, Sunday Night Football on NBC, we only show on TV. I live for these games, and I just don't quite understand why the energy was a little bit flat.
Well, who are you going to fire now, Aaron? Now, don't get me wrong. Robert Saleh deserved to get fired in the offseason. He did not deserve to get fired 5 games into the season when you elected to do so. But since then, the Jets have made the same mistakes. The Jets now have looked flat before the game, and these last 2 games have been an unmitigated disaster for the New York Jets. Aaron, this is your team. Aaron, this is your work. Aaron, it's your job to get this team ready because the old coach you didn't think was good enough anymore. This is your team. And it's a bad team. And Aaron Rodgers used to be a great football player. Aaron Rodgers used to be a great quarterback. But now being someone that's no longer elite, no longer great, your leadership and your experience needs to make up for the drop-off in the game, in the play of your game. But here's the thing. That locker room's not listening to Aaron right now. That's what I take away from it. So the Jets are one big hot mess. But you little Jet fans, oh, we blew out the Patriots. Oh, let me throw a party. What have you guys done since then? The 2 Jets wins this year were against the lousy Tennessee Titans and then up against the lousy New England Patriots. So when you're 2-5 and your 2 victories against 2 lousy teams, what does that make you? Also a lousy football team. You know what the Jets are? The Jets are your neighbor's old shiny sports car. Like you look at it from afar, you're peeking over and you're like, oh, that's a cool sports car. And then you go, all right, let me walk into my neighbor's driveway and see what the sports car looks like. And then you're like, uh-oh. There's a crack in the windshield. One of the tires flat. And the door mirror is hanging on by a thread. But the owner, because it's a sports car, even though it's an old, shiny-ish sports car, is hoping that that car was the car of 10 years ago and not what it is in present day. It's time to take that car to the junkyard. The Jets' junkyard season is over. The season was a giant waste of everybody's time. Just end the season. You're 2-5, and there's no optimism moving forward. All right, let's go from one crappy football team to another crappy football team, except people expected the Giants to be crappy. Not everyone expected the Jets to be crappy. Here is Daniel Jones, which it's crazy he's still the Giants quarterback. Well, maybe not for long, on getting benched yesterday up against the Eagles.
Yeah, I was frustrated. Want to be out there, want to be playing with my teammates and trying to score points. So, I was frustrated and, didn't like it, obviously.
I feel like it's the same old song with Daniel Jones. Yeah, I didn't like it. Yeah, I was frustrated. How this guy is still a starting quarterback, and I know it wasn't by design. The Giants tried to move up in the draft to get somebody else, and they weren't successful. But how we are still having the Daniel Jones conversation is just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous to me. All right, let's listen up to Mookie Betts on what a Yankees-Dodgers World Series means to him.
I don't know what it means yet. I think I just got to get in it and see. I mean, it's kind of what the people wanted, and it's what we all wanted. I mean, it's fun. It's going to be a battle of 2 good teams, a lot of long flights across the country, but that's what makes it fun.
And Aaron Judge, how about going to your first Fall Classic?
Oh, boy, it's sweeter. This is even sweeter, man. Just this group we have, it's something special. You know, all the work they put in the offseason, the ups and downs of the regular season, it's no better group. And to get the support out of our fans all year long, man, this is something, this is special. This is special.
And Rob Manfred's the happiest person on the planet, as you do get Aaron Judge up against Shohei Ohtani in the Fall Classic. And don't forget about Mookie Betts and also Juan Soto. So I was curious to hear what the response would be from Ashton Genty. This was via Destroying on TikTok. So last week, Travis Hunter was talking down basically what Ashton Genty was doing and trying to downplay the historically great season that Ashton Genty's having because of the fact that he's trying to make the case for him to win the award. So Ashton Genty, we'll get to his response in just a second. But like I said with Travis Hunter, I get trying to make the case for yourself. but you were trying to really just devalue what Genti was doing, and that didn't sit well with me. I think there's a way to prop yourself up, but you don't need to tear down someone like Ashton Genti, who's also having an incredible season. Here is Ashton Genti responding to the diss that he received from one Travis Hunter.
Kudos to Travis. He balling for real. He doing some stuff we ain't never seen nobody do. Personally, I don't take no offense to it. He just speaking his opinion. Everybody got an opinion. For me, is what I've been doing has been done in 36, 37 years.
Long time.
So that's something special. If I keep that up and, break a record that's been around for 36 years, then I feel like you can't really compete with that. You know what I'm saying?
If the Heisman Trophy was to be awarded today, who you think winning it? You or Travis Hunter?
Me, for sure. I got to say me.
Travis balling, bro.
He is balling. But I just feel like what I'm doing is just too special. I watch Travis, I watch his games, incredible player. I've never seen people do what he's doing. But I know myself, I know my talent. I feel like I'm the best player in college football.
See, that's what Travis Hunter could have done, but he didn't. Ashton Genti made the case for himself, is also extremely complimentary of Travis Hunter, and didn't say a name things about Travis Hunter. So much respect to Ashton Genti. Let's go to Tua Tagovailoa, actually. So Tua, there's a window for him to return right now. That has been activated. They are designating the Dolphins, Tua Tagovailoa, to return from IR, according to Ira Mirov from My Sports Update, with the hopes of playing him on Sunday versus the Arizona Cardinals. Let's hear from Tua Tagovailoa. Will he wear the Guardian cap when he does return?
Will you wear a Guardian cap?
Nope.
Why?
Personal choice.
Will this change your style of play, your decision to scramble or run or things like that?
It's got to be smart. That's it. It's got to be smart. My entire time playing football, I've been a competitor, and that is or was sort of my edge. But it's a professional setting. This is the professional level, the best of the best. You just can't be doing that. So definitely gotta stay more available for the team, for the organization, for our guys.
Tua's a grown man. He can make his own decisions. They're his decisions. It's his life, not mine. I personally don't want to see him play again, but I'm not going to sit here and cry about it. I will say, though, Tua being out the last 3-4 weeks, even though I don't think he's a great quarterback, it shows how important he is to that team. Because that Dolphins offense, McDaniel, man, overrated coach. How do you only get Jalen Waddle 2 targets in the game and Tyreek Hill 2 targets in the game? 1 catch for 11 yards for Waddle and 1 catch for 8 yards for Tyreek Hill. That's just crazy to me. So that Dolphins team, they're not winning a Super Bowl with Tua. Tua's not a great quarterback, but it just shows you why good quarterbacks get paid elite, great money. Because when you don't have a good quarterback, your team becomes a bad team. Finally, Anthony Edwards, courtesy of ESPN, will quit the NBA potentially to play in the NFL?
Football players can't go play basketball. You crazy. No way. I told my buddies, I said, if I win a ring in the next 3 to 4 years,
you're not going to football.
I'm going to play football.
No, you're not.
I wouldn't mind seeing Anthony Edwards in the NFL. I don't think he'll actually do that. And I also like to see play in the NFL. Maybe get him at tight end or defensive end. Ohtani. Ohtani's huge and he's quick. We know that. I don't know how tough Ohtani is, but when I was watching Ohtani over the weekend, I did think to myself, whenever we have these cross-sport kind of conversations, why do we never mention Ohtani potentially playing in the NFL? Obviously, we talked about Anthony Edwards before. All righty, Zach Gelb Show, Infinity Sports Network. We will take a timeout. Hour number 1, you can put it in the books. When we come on back, we will kick off hour number 2 with former NFL player with the Kansas City Chiefs. Also played his college ball with the Longhorns. Was a part of that classic national championship game between Texas and USC all those years ago. Jamaal Charles will join us next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
All righty, rocking and rolling. Hour number 2 of our radio program. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Kingsford is currently participating in their college football tailgate tour, which has been going on all college football season. And now joining us is a 4-time Pro Bowler, a 2-time first-team All-Pro with the Kansas City Chiefs. During his college days, he did win a national championship at Texas. And that, of course, is Jamaal Charles, kind enough to join us right now. Jamaal, thank you for the time. Appreciate you doing this. How you been?
I'm doing good, man. I'm blessed, man. I'm happy to be on the phone with y'all. I'm excited.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on. So I love this whole Kingsford College football tailgate tour, and I love barbecue. You played in Kansas City. You played your college football at Texas. I got to put you on the seat right out of the gate. Who was the better barbecue, Kansas City or Texas?
Oh, yeah. Kansas City. I'm sorry. I'm from Texas. I'm a big Texas guy, but, man, Kansas City, man, they know how to throw down. And being with Kingsford shows me that, man, I've been missing out on my barbecue. But I've been excited to get back in there with them, just smoking and grilling and get some real choco.
Yeah, what is the barbecue spread looking like? If I'm hanging out with Jamaal Charles on a college football Saturday, what are you cooking up with Kingsford?
I like to throw down some wings. I like chicken wings, but also I like smoking oxtail on the grill. Ain't nothing like seeing some good oxtail falling off the bone. And I'm a big lamb chopping guy, so I have to have me some lamb chops on the grill as well.
Yeah, you're speaking right to me. I would eat all of that. There is no doubt about that. Hey, when I look at the history of college football, Jamaal Charles, in my lifetime, there's like two games just in particular that really jump out to me. Boise State and Oklahoma, and then obviously the national championship game that you were a part of, maybe the greatest college football game of all time between Texas and USC. All these years later, how do you look back at that evening, which was just unbelievable?
Man, like everybody always asks me about that because I was a young kid. Like, people don't understand, I was a true freshman playing in that game. So I you know what I'm saying? It was excitement. I really didn't know the moment, how big the moment until those guys really, you know what I'm saying, played in that game, and BY played in the year before, man. I was just a little kid. I was excited. I was excited little kid, but it was awesome to have that experience playing in the national championship, playing against some legends like Reggie Bush on the other side, Linda White, Matt Liner. It was just crazy because I didn't know how big they was until the moment left me. You know, some people, we don't know how big the moment is until when it moved on. So it was so big for me. I was a little kid. I couldn't party. I went back to the hotel after we won. I'm playing video games in the hotel, so the moments were really. I wish I was able to get it on my junior year and my senior year.
Oh, neat stuff. No doubt about that. Jamaal Charles here with us. All right, how about your alma mater, though? Big game. They were home the other night up against Georgia. Georgia took it to them in the first half. They had a little bit of a comeback.
Don't tell me like that.
Well, you know, it's the truth. I thought Texas was going to show up and have a better showing in that one. What happened?
Yeah, man, it wasn't. We didn't show up, man. As everybody saw it, it was the probably the nationwide most watched game of the week. So it's like we didn't show as a team, we didn't come. We didn't. The moment was kind of too big for us, and we just had to go back to the drawing boards and when the opportunity come again, we know we had to answer. And I think it was all the way around. It shows that the other team had better coachings. Because I feel like it was more on the coaches because the other team just had a better. They played well. They did executed well on everything they supposed to do. They had They did their great assignments on the other side on defense and offense. They just executed more than we did on when we had the opportunity to shine. Because defense, they did a great job of stopping on defense. We had a lot of turnovers. It's just that offense didn't really show up.
When you take a look at this moving forward, where is the confidence level that they could turn it around and get it back to where this was supposed to be? Because it's only one loss at a 12-team playoff format. I know that was a big loss, but you could still go find the way to go get the job done at the end of the season.
Oh, yeah. I feel like, man, the team you played against, it wasn't like a team that never been there. That team been there, like I said, the last 5 years, been the most top-tier program when Nick Saban was there at Alabama. So, you playing against a team that's really have like an NFL style mindset, players, linemen. Like the program been as a going up since probably like when Kirby got there. I mean, what's the head coach name?
Kirby Smart. Yeah.
Since he got there, so it's just like he coached just like Nick Saban. He prepared them well. He always give great speeches to motivate his kids, man. He just all the way around, man. And they've been there before, and we just wasn't able to. And it shows that we wasn't able to do it on the big stage. So next time we come around, I hope you have some of them kids
Because when I played, we had Vince Young. Vince Young was the whole moment. When that moment comes, he wasn't shying away from it. We did whatever our leader did. He was the top leader. So when Vince was there, I was a little kid. Whatever BY say, I'm doing what he said me to do. I guess you need them leaders on that team to show you when the moments come that they have the other kids ready to play.
Yeah, and the line was just getting annihilated in that game. I know they sat down Quinn Ewers for a bit. They went to Arch, and then they went back to Quinn. Are you a Quinn guy still moving forward, or you maybe start to say, let's rip off the Band-Aid even more and start getting Arch some starts?
Nah, you can't do that. You should never gave Quinn the green light from the season if you're going to do that now. You might as well start with him and finish with him. You made him stay. He stayed here for his senior year. You got to ride it out. You can't play it now because of politics. You got to get him in your word. Your word, so you got to stay with him and stick with him. So that's how I look at it. I'm not changing. Quinn brought you to the to almost to the national champions last year. So I feel like Archie gonna have his turn. When he gonna have his turn come, he just have to sit it out. Just wait till a moment will have to come when something might happen. That he might get injured. Hope not, but that's always the question.
Yeah, we saw that a little bit earlier in the year, and thankfully Quinn's been able to come on back. Before we let Jamaal Charles run. Obviously here with Kingsford today with their college football tailgate program. I got to ask you about your Chiefs. Man, Kareem Hunt back with Kansas City. Pacheco, we'll see when he comes back from the injury, but Patrick Mahomes got a rushing attack this year in that backfield, and it's cool to see what Kareem's doing back in KC.
Yeah, man, Kareem, I'm happy he's back. I hear a lot of good stuff about Kareem, that he's happy to be back in the building. I'm happy that he's back with the program because, he left on a situation that, unfortunately, we didn't want to happen to nobody, but he's able to still go to Cleveland and perform, and now he's got the opportunity to come back to play for the Chiefs. Man, it's an awesome time to have him. He's sold in on the moment. It's like he's dialed in. He wants this moment back. He's you can say the way he run, I could say the way he looked like he prepared, the way he's running out there. He looked like he want to win a ring, so they have another opportunity. I'm sorry, they should never get Kareem Hunt back.
You know what's kind of crazy too? This has now been a year plus with Kansas City, where we all know Mahomes is the best quarterback, the best player in the sport, but their defense is better than their offense, and it's been that way for over a year, and that's really scary, Jamaal, for the rest of the NFL. If when you have Mahomes on your team, he's got a better defense, and that's the better side of the ball.
Yeah, I mean that's crazy, man. Because everybody don't really talk about Chris Jones. But Chris Jones, man, he's an animal, man. He's a monster for the other defense on the offense, for the other opponent on the other side going against this man. This man moved the line the way he wanted to be. Like they have to scheme around him, and it kind of helps up the linebacker in the middle. I think his name Nick Bowl.
Yeah, Bolton. Yeah.
Yeah, the way he's another guy. Like they people don't understand. Like they got playmakers on defense that can make plays, can change games at any time, and that's what you want as on the defense. And the Spags it was a head coach at once. So it's like it's hard to basically to count Kansas City out, man, because it just, like you say, the defense is playing well, and when Pac really found a rhythm like he really won't, it's gonna be. I don't even think Pat found his rhythm yet, and it's gonna be scary.
Last thing I'll ask you, Jamaal Charles, and then we'll let you run. I don't know how much you've seen of this guy in college, but geez, he's off to some start this year, and they're talking about a potential Heisman Trophy winner from Boise State, Ashton Genty. 126 carries, 1,248 yards, and 18 total touchdowns to start off this season. Have you been able to watch any of him, and what have you seen?
It surprised me, man. I've been watching that guy, man. He's been killing it. I say, man, this man here average 24 yards a carry. I'm like, man, that's unheard of. You got to get a Heisman up to him. He had to be the front runner, man. The way he carried the ball, he make them kids out there look like they playing in Pop Warner team, and that's crazy. This college, I ain't never saw nobody run that ball like that since Ricky Williams. Like really, just like going through, and he's the quarterback on the team. Basically, I'm gonna say it, like he's the quarterback. Hand him the ball, he'll hit a home run for you. He'll pop 30 off for you. He open the play action up. Like he's the quarterback. He remind me just of me, like just controlling the game. He controlled the game, and that's how you want as a playmaker on your team.
He's Jamaal Charles once again. Make sure you check out Kingsford College Football Tailgate all season long in the college football year. Jamaal, we appreciate it. Thank you.
I got one word. I said, if you can't win every game, but you can win Kingsford, you can win every game with tailgating.
Yeah, well, you know what? Send your alma mater some Kingsford Grill, all right?
I know, huh?
We appreciate it. Thanks so much. There he is, Jamaal Charles, joining us on the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. You know, you almost forget that he was on that Texas team that defeated USC with how many great players there were and how that's really remembered, right? Matt Leinart against Vince Young. You got Pete Carroll. You got Mac Brown. Obviously, Reggie Bush involved in that game. And, you know, I was looking back and watching back some highlights from that. You're like, oh, yeah, there was a young Jamaal Charles on that team for Texas. So to hear his perspective where he's like, yeah, I wish I was a little bit older when I won the national championship. And I don't think you'd be picking and choosing when you win a national championship. But he was like, yeah, I went back to my, my hotel and was like playing video games. It was a unique perspective that he definitely brought. But I'll tell you, what Kansas City's doing right now, it's amazing as someone that never took the Patriots' run for granted, right? That being my team. And how when you win one, you want to win another, and you want to win another, and you almost get spoiled. But you never know how many you're going to be able to get. But with how many similarities I see between the Patriots and the Chiefs, it's just alarming. Like, all-time great coach, check. All-time great quarterback, check. A defense, right? That there's going to be some players that as this goes on longer and longer, they will get more national recognition because you got a lot of good players outside of Jones. I don't know how many great players they have on the defense, but then there's names that turn into, after being called good for so many years, great. You have, I know it was the second wave of the Patriot dynasty with Gronkowski, not the first, but Kelsey got an all-time great tight end as well. And you look at some of these teams and what they line up with offense. There's sometimes where Brady and Mahomes, they like turn into game managers. And they just do whatever it takes to win. And Mahomes isn't playing at his best right now. He's not MVP level Patrick Mahomes, but when he needs to, like on that run yesterday, he wakes up and he goes. And that defense, for what they've been now over a year, because I remember, in that first Super Bowl season, it was just, okay, get timely stops. And then they start to make progress and they get better and better and better. And the second Super Bowl, it wasn't won because of the defense, right? That was a high-scoring offensive game. But then this last Super Bowl run, not just in a game, but the entirety of the run, that was defense first. And, right, you saw that with the Patriots. Like, look at the Patriots when they beat the Rams the second time around. That defense won them that Super Bowl. And Brady made a timely throw to Gronk when he needed to. Then there's been other Super Bowls where, right, Brady and 28-3, or Brady up against the LOB, or Brady up against the Panthers, if you want to go back to the second Super Bowl that they won, where those Super Bowls were won because of the offense. But that's a good problem to have, where you could win a Super Bowl with your offense being great and the defense being average, but then your defense can be great and be the stronger unit right now than the offense, and your offense not being anything all that special, and you still find a way to be the best team in the league. This is a team, and when you get into those Patriot-Chiefs debates, the one card Mahomes would have over Brady is if he takes care of this one. And he does 3 in a row because the Patriots didn't do that. Now, Brady always has the card of, hey, I beat you in the Super Bowl when I was in Tampa Bay, and I beat you in the AFC Championship game when I completed like every third down throw humanly possible at your place in Arrowhead. But the similarities in the way that we talk about them, Patriots and the Chiefs, you would think what the Patriots did would never be done ever again. And the Chiefs have a long ways to go, but this is a heck of a start for Kansas City. So appreciate Jamaal Charles jumping on board with us. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We will get to, when we come on back, a little onside, offside. Stu's got some questions for me. We will get to that on the other side. But first, let's hear these important messages. Sports fans, listen up. 1 in 8 men will be diagnosed with prostate cancer, and bladder leaks could be a side effect. That's why Depend is teaming up with the Prostate Cancer Foundation to encourage screening, because health is a long game and it's yours to win. Now, here's the cool part. Through November, Depend is contributing up to $300,000 to prostate cancer research by donating 40 cents for every purchase of Shields, guards, and Real Fit products. Void in Mississippi. Learn more at Depend.com.
You're in a 4.5-minute break. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Zach's taking on the most polarizing issues in sports. Which side of the line of scrimmage will he end up on?
Offside. Defense number 69.
It's Onsides, Offsides with Zach Gelb.
All righty, onside, offside time. It is the Zach Gelb Show on a Monday right here on the Infinity Sports Network. Stu, usually you ask me the questions. That's how we usually do this segment, correct, Amundo?
That is right, yes.
All right, I'm going to throw one your way right out of the gate first.
Awesome.
So this is what I'm going to do right here. Last night at 12:03 a.m. Eastern Time, Zach Gelb became NFL Insider, Zach Gelb, where I tweeted out, source, Chiefs fear that cornerback Jalen Watson has a broken ankle. That's all I tweeted out. And then I got up this morning, took a train into the city, and when I was on the train at 10:33 a.m. Eastern Time, I see Ian Rappaport from the NFL Network say, Chiefs cornerback Jalen Watson, one of their emerging young players on defense, suffered a fractured ankle in Sunday's win over the 49ers, sources say. Cough, cough, Zach Gelb. No mention, though. He'll have more imaging done today to determine if a return this season is possible, but the tough reality for an up-and-coming cornerback. Onside or offside? Ian Rappaport owes me an apology for not crediting a report that I had at 12:03 a.m. Eastern Time, and you didn't have it until 10:33 a.m. Eastern Time.
That's definitely an onside. He should apologize to you because, look, I mean, we see this all the time, these source-offs and all that, and it's nice when you see some, the insiders give credit, and it just doesn't happen enough, I feel like.
Yeah, it's all right, though. I'll put my big boy pants on, and I'll be okay. But Ian Rappaport, if we see you at the Super Bowl this year, it's going to be war. If I don't get an apology, if I don't get a tweet, hey, I didn't know that Zach Gelb had this first, or I elected to ignore him first. If I don't get the mention publicly, I'm coming to that Super Bowl, Ian, and you better have a security guard, because this will be war. We will get into a fight. I like Ian Rappaport, all kidding aside. I'm just having a little fun. All righty, what do we got cooking here? But insider Zach Gelb. Chef didn't have that story. Rappaport didn't have that story first. My guy Mike Florio didn't have that story. Where was Jay Glazer? Where are these guys? I beat you to the punch. All right? This network, listen up. You now refer to me as NFL Insider, Zach Gelb. Not just talk show host, NFL Insider. I should be getting paid more money from Odyssey. I should be now an Odyssey NFL Insider. They got a bunch of insiders. They don't get breaking news like that. Zach Gelb gets you that breaking news. All righty, you can go ahead.
Well, many...
I sounded like a douche there. Onside or offside? Zach Gelb sounded like a douche there. Onsides. All right, what do we got, Stu?
So many doubted Mike Tomlin's decision to bench Justin Fields for Russell Wilson, despite the team's 4-2 start. However, despite a slow start last night, Russ was pretty good, throwing for 262 yards along with 3 passing touchdowns. Onsides, offsides, Mike Tomlin actually made the right decision to start Russell Wilson.
I can't say he made the wrong decision because they won the game and they won the game going away. And Russ didn't play well in the first quarter but got better when the game did go along. Personally, I think in the year of 2024, Justin Fields has a higher upside. To me, this game said more about the Jets and how far away they are than the Steelers being this great, unbeatable team in the NFL. But, give credit to Tomlin. Kind of realize the Jets stink. They play the Giants after that. It's not a bad spot if you were really hell-bent on going to Russ to get his feet wet up against the 2 lousy football teams in New York, the Jets and the Giants. So I would not have done it. I made that pretty clear last week, but it worked for him, so I can't say it's a wrong decision. So Mike Tomlin actually made the right decision to start Russ, and begrudgingly, I will go on sides.
All right, after their 0-3 start, the Bengals have reeled off 3 wins in their last 4 to improve to 3-4 and currently sit just 1 game back of the final wildcard spot. However, since he has a pretty tough schedule coming up, which includes the Eagles, Raiders, Ravens, Chargers, Steelers, and Cowboys.
Yeah, which one of those teams don't belong? Did you just throw in the Raiders? Did I hear the Raiders?
I read what is written in front of me.
Okay.
Listen, I would not include them, but that is their next 6 games.
See, I knew that they played the Eagles and the Raiders the next 2 games. I didn't know after that. When I heard Stu say they have a tough schedule coming up, I'm like, The Eagles and the Raiders? The Raiders, we're now saying, are a tough football team? Okay.
I would say they'd have like maybe 3 or 4 really tough games in there. Raiders are not. I repeat,
they got a
not
bye week.
one of those teams.
They got a bye week coming up on November 3rd. They play the Raiders.
Exactly. So onside, offsides, the Bengals will still make the playoffs this year.
I'm going to say offside, and here is why. Like, can they make the playoffs? Yes. And I love Joe Burrow, but I hope they miss the playoffs. Because this football team is such an infuriating football team to watch. They lost to my Patriots. They had a great defensive performance. The only time the defense really shows up. And they lost to Kansas City. They got embarrassed by the Commanders. They won up against the Panthers, but the Panthers weren't lifeless in that game. Joe Burrow then throws for 5 touchdown passes, and they lose to the Ravens in overtime. You beat the Giants on a garbage time touchdown at the end to win by 10 points. You beat Cleveland, who was playing 3 quarterbacks yesterday because Watson got hurt and Dorian Thompson-Robinson got hurt, and then they ended up going to Jameis Winston. You only be able to beat them by 7 points. It's like they're 3-4, but they're still sloppy. Like Philadelphia, you know what? Nick Sirianni, you don't beat the Bengals this weekend, just get fired. Seriously. Like, neither of those teams, the Eagles or the Bengals, deserve the benefit of the doubt with the way that they're playing. But this Bengals team, they're obnoxious because they keep on getting the benefit of the doubt by the national media. And I feel like I'm the only one that's not given the benefit of the doubt. So I'm just hoping that they miss the playoffs. And that defense is not good. And offensively, I love Burrow. You know, Chase a heck of a player. Higgins is a heck of a player. I'm a fan of Yosivas out of Princeton. But that team to me this year has become unlikable. And it's not because of the personalities. It's just because how frustrating they've been watching them and how people keep on saying they could be a team that beats Kansas City. And I get why people say that for what they've done in years past. But they're a 3-4 football team with their 3 wins coming up against the garbage Carolina Panthers, the garbage New York Football Giants, and the garbage Cleveland Browns. So if they make the playoffs this year, that'd be garbage to me. If they end up going on some run and they're in the Super Bowl and they beat Kansas City, that would be like surreal to me. My brain could not even find a way to compute out that answer of the Bengals being like this great team this year. So you asked me, the Bengals will make the playoffs. I'm hoping, though. Offside.
Well, Jaden Daniels started out hot yesterday against the Panthers, making a 46-yard run in the first quarter before leaving the game with a rib injury. The team is still running tests on the number 2 pick, but his status for this weekend's matchup against number 1 pick Caleb Williams and the Bears is still unknown. Onsides, offsides, the Commanders should play it safe and rest Jaden Daniels even if he can play through the pain.
Now, Stu, I just want to be correct here. I'm not saying that you didn't do anything there. I'm not saying you were incorrect, but I just want to give credit here to Ian Rappaport. See, Ian, this is how it's done. I have a report at midnight. You have a report at 10:33 a.m. Eastern time, which is my report. I don't get any credit. So since we're talking about Jaden Daniels, Ian Rappaport 45 minutes ago tweeted, Jaden Daniels, who left Sunday's win early because of his ribs, suffered an injury that is not considered to be serious but does require treatment and monitoring through the week, sources say. His status against the Bears is up in the air, and Rappaport, Rap Sheet, then went on to say Jaden Daniels officially week to week, per Coach Dan Quinn, where hopefully he could play. But there are real unknowns, and they'll be cautious. Safe to say the showdown between Daniels and Caleb Williams is in doubt. That's from Ian Rappaport. See, I had something, Ian. You then had it like 10 hours later. No credit. You have something. I read it. I give you credit. All righty? The Commander should play it safe and rest Daniels if he could play through the pain. Absolutely on sides. You could maybe beat the Bears without Daniels. It's not inconceivable. But Daniels, to me, is your franchise. He is your future. He is your hope. He is your optimism. And the rest of the NFC East is pretty crummy right now. Like the Eagles have not looked like world beaters. The Cowboys, Jerry Jones more interested in fighting radio hosts than having his team actually show some fight on the football field. And the Giants stink. So you could afford to rest him a little bit, even though you could maybe say, oh, he could play. I'm not messing around with the franchise quarterback. I'm not doing so. So the Commander should play it safe and rest Daniels, even if he could play through the pain. I would go on sides.
All right, your Patriots lost to the Jags in London yesterday, dropping rookie head coach Gerard Mayo's team to just 1-6. After the game, Mayo had some choice words for his squad.
Disappointing game. We came out, we started fast. What I would say is, look, we're a soft football team across the board. We talk about what makes a tough football team. That's being able to run the ball, that's being able to stop the run, and that's being able to cover kicks, and we did none of those today. Back to the drawing board. I mean, we can't sit here and pout. We just got to put a game together.
So Onsides, Offsides, Mayo was right to call his team soft.
I'm almost out on Gerard Mayo. I thought that Mike Vrabel should have been the coach of this team. Little did we know Gerard Mayo was the coach in waiting. Maybe he could turn into a good NFL head coach, but with how he handled the quarterback situation, with like saying something different every day, one day being a Jacoby Brissett guy, the next day being a Drake May guy, that was a cause for concern. In week 2, when Gerard Mayo punted the ball in overtime, I'm still not over that against the Seahawks. And then yesterday, forget about the jackassery after the game, calling his team soft, then getting into it over social media or comments that were made by KJ Osborne and Polk, and then responding to it aggressively on a radio show in Boston. This dude's football team just scored a touchdown. They were down by 9. 9. So, Stu, when you're down by 9, you just scored a touchdown. Do you go for 2 to make it 7, or do you kick the extra point to make it an 8-point game? What do you do, Stu?
I think at that point you tried to just make it a 1-score game with the extra point.
He went for 2. He went for 2. Get a stop, get a score, then go for 2. But down 9. 9. Gerard Mayo goes, I'm going to go for 2. Gerard Mayo is looking like a rookie coach. So the only optimism is through time, he will get better. But right now, through the first 7 games, if you put a gun to my head and if you said he's going to be a great NFL head coach in this league, I'm not saying yes. Because I'm getting really fed up early with Gerard Mayo, who I loved as a player. Loved as a player. But as a head coach right now, stinky. Very stinky with Gerard Mayo. So Mayo was right to call his team soft. Offside, because you're making a huge distraction now when this team, the last few weeks, they haven't been great, but since putting Drake May in, they've been watchable. Now it's me watching saying, this line stinks, the receivers stink. Oh, your defense, Gerard, you're a defensive-minded coach. Belichick had this defense playing a lot better than you did, but oh my goodness gracious, just don't get Drake May killed. But at least I'm, entertained when I'm watching because they have a young quarterback in Drake May. But yeah, Mayo calling his team soft. I don't think he needs to do that in a rebuilding year, 7 games in to the season. I think the players and Gerard Mayo, they're going to be going at it.
The Falcons got crushed by the Seahawks this weekend, dropping to 4-3 and down to second place in the NFC South. Kirk Cousins threw for 260 yards with a touchdown and 2 picks, while Bijan Robinson added 103 yards on the ground with a score as well. Onsides, offsides, the Falcons have been a disappointment so far.
I'm going to say offside. They have not been great. They have not been bad. But they've been what we kind of expected the Falcons to look like. They'll be more good than bad, but they're not a team that's going to go win a Super Bowl. Yesterday was like the first real disappointing loss of the season. The Steelers game was close. It was ugly offensively. It was just first game back for Kirk Cousins since the Achilles injury. They got robbed by the officials up against Kansas City. They beat Philadelphia, all right? You found a way to survive against New Orleans and Tampa Bay, and you blew out the Carolina Panthers. It was a bad home performance up against the Seattle Seahawks. But them sitting at 4-3 right now kind of feels like what they should be. And that's where they are. This team, to me, could be a 10-win football team. Maybe at most 11. They should win the division. If they don't win the division, then it's a disappointment. And it seems like it's a 2-team race between them and Tampa Bay. And they already beat Tampa Bay in overtime in that good comeback victory. So the Falcons have been a disappointment so far. I would go offside.
Offside. Aside from Mets and Guardians fans, America got the matchup that they were hoping for, pitting Aaron Judge and the Yankees against Shohei Ohtani and the Dodgers. Both stars had historic seasons, but Judge struggled this postseason so far, hitting just 161 with 2 homers, while Ohtani was hitting just 222 with 1 homer before waking up the last 4 games. So onsides, offsides, Judge and Ohtani both need to have great World Series for their respective teams to win.
Offside, and here is why. Judge does, Ohtani doesn't. The Dodgers have a deeper lineup. The Dodgers have a better lineup. They could find a way to win the World Series, even if Ohtani's just good, not great. The Yankees had a bye to the Fall Classic up against the Royals and the Guardians. They need Judge to be at his best for however many games this World Series goes for them to win it. So Judge needs to be great. Ohtani doesn't, but you said Judge and Ohtani both need to have great World Series for their respective teams to win. So therefore, I will go offside.
Offside.
All right, say what you want about Coach Prime, but he's turned things around at Colorado. They are now 5-2 after crushing Arizona 34-7, despite Travis Hunter leaving the game at halftime. So onside, offsides, Deion is a top 10 coach in college football.
Deion Sanders is a heck of a coach. You know, the excitement he's brought to Colorado, I know it has not always been pretty, but what he did last year was damn impressive at the start, and then it was miserable down the stretch. But what he's done this year, that UCF game was really the turning point for them. He's not a top 10 coach in college football. It's not enough of a resume, but he's going to be successful at Colorado. Now, I don't know how much longer he's going to stay there when Shador leaves after this year and Travis Hunter leaves, but that's a team I did not think was going to be bowl eligible this year. I thought they were going to be 5 wins, maybe could get to 6, but they're already at 5-2. That's a good job by Deion Sanders, and I've always wanted Deion to succeed as a coach, but to say that Coach Prime's a top 10 coach in college football, that's a little premature for me, so I would go offside.
Offside.
All right, and last one, the Oklahoma Sooners are a mess, losing their last 2 games to
That's an understatement. They're an unmitigated disaster. That's what they are right now.
Yeah, last 2 games, losing to Texas and South Carolina by a combined score of 69-12. Brent Venables is now just 20-13 as head coach in his 3rd season, and he is yet to win a bowl game. So onsides, offsides, the Sooners should fire Venables after this season.
They just gave him a 6-year extension this offseason. So with the way he's coaching, he should be fired, but because of the contract, you got to bring him back next year. So the Sooners should fire Venables after this season. Begrudgingly, I will go offside on that one.
Offside.
All right, that's Onside Offside. It is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We will get to the team that is the biggest joke in the NFL next. You don't want to miss this because this team is an absolute circus. We'll get to them on the other side. Update time first. Here is the Act Man, Rich Ackerman.
Infinity Sports Network. Sports Flash.
Well, week 7 of the season closes tonight with a pair of NFL games as the Bucs host the Ravens in a matchup of 2 teams off to terrific starts at 4-2. However, tonight's game much more than your ordinary matchup. The people of Florida still trying to recover after the damage caused by Hurricane Milton and more. Quarterback Baker Mayfield said they will try to provide a lift tonight.
Just hoping to, continue to bring hope in a time of post-disaster where people are going through a lot. So we have to focus in, obviously playing for a bigger purpose, but still dialing it back in, doing your job at a very high level, and everything else will take care of itself.
Mayfield has embraced the area and thrived there and currently has a league-leading 15 touchdowns. The Cardinals host the Chargers in the other game. Commanders rookie Jaden Daniels week to week with a rib injury suffered yesterday. Head coach Dan Quinn said it's not going to knock him out long term. They're hopeful he can play next week. And the Dolphins will activate Tua Tagovailoa for Sunday's matchup against the Cardinals. He's been cleared from his latest concussions. MRI confirmed that quarterback Deshaun Watson's torn Achilles is in fact just that. And Aiden O'Connell is out 4 to 6 weeks with a broken thumb. The Pelicans and Troy Murphy reportedly agree to a 4-year extension. Jalen Green gets a 3-year deal from the Rockets. I'm Rich Ackerman.
The Infinity Sports Network is on your smart speaker. All you have to say is play Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
This is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
All right, it is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. I will get to the biggest joke in the NFL in just a second. But first, 855-212-4227, 855-212-4227. Chris in California, the biggest Kenny Pickett fan in America, is on the line with us right now. Chris, what's shaking, my main man?
What's up, Zach? How's it going, man?
Doing great, Chris. What's the Kenny Pickett point today?
So my point is, I saw him play, and I saw how, they ran the ball, and didn't even display his arm whatsoever other than 2 attempts. And the last play call kind of like put me over the edge when they did the play action. It just put me over the edge. I think that locker room is Jalen Hurts' locker room. I think I think Howie and the rest. I just think this guy is being set up to fail, and I don't like it. I'm a big fan of Kenny Pickett.
He's a backup quarterback.
No, he's not. He's
so
not
it's
a backup
garbage time.
quarterback.
No, he's listed number 2 in the depth chart, Chris. He's a backup quarterback.
But he's not. He's not a backup quarterback. So I'm advocating now. I would like for him to succeed in the NFL. I'm hoping that he can, turn Carolina around. And if that happens, I'll be a Carolina fan because I want to see the guy succeed.
He had more talent and a better situation in Pittsburgh. He couldn't succeed there, so why would he succeed in Carolina?
He was set up to fail in Pittsburgh, man. He was really.
How so?
And now, yes, he was.
No. I asked you, how so? That's what I'm wondering. How? How was he set up to fail in Pittsburgh? They used a first-round draft pick on him.
That O-line was garbage. Didn't they get Rodgers Jones the year after?
Well,
and then what?
The offensive line is pretty bad this year so far, and they look like they're doing all right without Kenny Pickett. They're 5-2.
They revamped that O-line.
It's still not a good offensive line, though.
Bro, it doesn't matter. Those wide receivers, it's year by year. Those wide receivers weren't playing for Kenny Pickett. George Pickens wasn't playing for him. Deontay
whose
Johnson
fault is
wasn't
that?
playing for him. What do you mean, whose fault is that?
Whose fault is that? If you're a great quarterback, your wide receiver should want to play for you. We've seen great quarterbacks have wide receivers get their feelings hurt when they don't get them the ball. You got to be a tough leader there.
So when he's delivering the ball and they're not getting both feet in bounds, or when they're not catching the ball, when they're not jumping
that
up,
was fair. I know what game you're talking about with Pickens, where he couldn't get 2 feet down. That's fair, but that doesn't derail a career.
Or when Deontay Johnson didn't go up to get that ball and tug it away from those defenders. When
Chris, can I just ask you a question? Can I just ask you a serious question? I'm just fascinated by this. Where does the origins of your love and like your blind love for Kenny Pickett start?
When Howie Roseman went to go check him out, Pitt versus Carolina.
Okay, but how does that relate to you? How did your love start for Kenny Pickett?
Because I put myself in that guy's shoes. If the roles were reversed, I would want somebody to fight for me. And I don't think it's fair for someone that deserves an opportunity. As you can tell, Jalen Hurts can't pass the ball. He's a very limited quarterback, but yet again, we have a guy that could potentially make this offense thrive and put up points. Maybe even put up points in the first quarter. And we continue as
Do you think the Eagles are a better team with Kenny Pickett in at quarterback than Jalen Hurts, who was in a Super Bowl 2 years ago?
Man, yes. Okay. And it just hurts me because as an Eagles fan, I'm seeing this guy just getting he's pretty much getting put on the back burner, and
because he's a backup quarterback. All right, Chris, I had enough. He's a backup quarterback. I'm sorry. If Kenny Pickett had any sustained success in the NFL, I'd listen to it longer. The dude has 13 career touchdowns and 13 interceptions. And you know what? Even in the time when he was put into the game, Stu, Kenny Pickett had one throw in the game. It was an incompletion. He was 0-1. Jalen Hurts was 10 of 14 for 114 yards and a touchdown. They didn't need good quarterback play yesterday. You know how inferior the Giants were? It was just going to be run the ball with Saquon Barkley. And that was a Saquon game. And I'm not saying Jalen Hurts has been great this year. I've criticized him. But this idea that Kenny Pickett's going to come on in and be better than Jalen Hurts, it's just insane. Because a lot of teams could have went out there and made Kenny Pickett their starting quarterback if he was this great quarterback. But teams know that Kenny Pickett's not a great quarterback. And only the Steelers were taking him in the first round that year. If not, he would have been like Will Levis. And he would have fell right out of the first round. Or Malik Willis, who was the quarterback that year in that draft class, and fell all the way out of the first round. He had a great year at Pitt that one year. But this idea that Kenny Pickett is this unbelievable quarterback and he's getting screwed over by the NFL and they're sabotaging him right now. I like Chris in California. But here's Chris's problem. When you ask him a question, he doesn't listen. He doesn't answer the question with anything that makes any sense. And I'll give Chris credit. He was like a year ago called that Kenny Pickett was going to get on Philadelphia, which is crazy. So good for Chris on that. But when you call up with such a crazy point, you got to argue a little bit better. Yeah, you can't just say, oh, he's better than Jalen. Why? Now, there's something weird going on there. He's got to be a family member of Kenny Pickett. Or Kenny Pickett, maybe he knew him growing up as a kid or something like that. Like, I don't even think Kenny Pickett's family's that big of a fan of Kenny Pickett compared to Chris in California. Kenny, if Chris is like in your neighborhood, you may want to get a restraining order. All righty. You know what? It's very fitting, Stu, that I teased this segment saying, let's get to the biggest joke in the NFL. And if you're a listener and you didn't know what I was getting to, that phone call isn't what I was talking about. It's the New York Jets. Like, Stu, it's one thing where your Raiders are at right now. They stink, but we thought they were going to stink. The Jets people thought were going to be good. The Jets had a tremendous amount of national coverage to a point where people just got tired of it. And all I've heard from the Jet fan is just get him a quarterback. Now they have a quarterback. And I get it. He's 40 years old. He's playing on one leg. But Garrett Wilson now doesn't look like a great wide receiver. Breece Hall has been up and down this year. The offensive line is a little bit better, but it's still not good. And the Jets' defense is overrated. It's not great. It's a good defense. And they blame the coach already, Robert Saleh. They've lost their first 2 games without him. This is just the Aaron Rodgers ayahuasca circus right now. Seriously. Like, you need some ayahuasca to end up making this enjoyable when watching this football team. That is how pathetic and embarrassing and how much of a clown show the New York Jets have become. And they lose to the Bills, then they trade Devontae Adams, and they lose to the Steelers. It's like, what are we doing here? And now Hassan Reddick, here he comes to save the day. Oh, they get the contract finally done with Hassan. And he's coming back for a 2-5 football team. I said this earlier, I'll say it again. The Jets are the shiny sports car, the old shiny sports car. From afar, ooh, it looks nice. Ooh, it looks really cool. Then you step right up to that sports car. Let me get a further inspection on it. Up, headlights out. Up, there's a dent in the hood. Up, there's a crack in the windshield. Up, the mirror on the door is hanging on by a thread. Oh, there's a flat tire. Like, that's what the Jets are right now. They have talent. The outside of the car from far away looks good, but when you get on the inside of the car, you check under the hood of that car, yikes, yikes, yikes. There's no reason to be optimistic. Any Jet fan thinking this season is going to end with the Jets in the playoffs or has any legitimate reason to think that they're going to be good, you're delusional. Absolutely delusional. I don't even need to look at the schedule. You're 2-5. You stink. The 2 wins have been up against Tennessee and New England. They stink. You've just been better than them. But the Jets are a lousy football team, and they are the biggest joke in the NFL right now.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Alrighty, this is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network, hour number 3 of our radio program. We got a whole lot to do with 60 more minutes to play on this glorious Monday. Tweet of the day. Could always get at me at Zach Gelb on Twitter, X, Instagram, ZACHGELB. What did Jody Mack used to do, Stu? It was like he probably still does it. What was it? The Mac Daddy tweet of the night? Right? Wasn't that what that was called?
Mac Daddy tweet of the day, yeah.
The Mac Daddy tweet of the day. Jump, jump, right? He used to play that song.
Yes.
So, not to sound like Jody, but We love Jody Mack, one of my all-time favorites. I will give I'm not going to call it the Zach Daddy tweet of the day. That just sounds weird. But the Zach Gelb Show tweet of the day comes from Psych Mampter off of Chris in California, just calling us up saying the Eagles need to bench Jalen Hurts and go to Kenny Pickett. Psych Mampter says, your show would be so much better if you replaced Stuart Kovacs with Kenny Pickett. It's a good job there by Psych Mampter. You know what? If Chris in California is so upset that Kenny Pickett is a backup quarterback, and I loved how defiant he was, and I'm like, he's a backup. He's like, no, he isn't. I'm like, no, he literally is. He is second on the depth chart in Philadelphia. That means you're a backup quarterback. So if no NFL team, I'm going to extend an offer here to Kenny Pickett. Chris in California, get this offer to Kenny Pickett because I feel like you're his best friend. If Kenny is so frustrated with his football career that he is so annoyed and perturbed that he can't be a starting quarterback, if he wants to retire from the NFL, or even we'll let him play in the NFL, and he wants to be one of the producers of the Zach Gelb Show, we will put him to producer number 1 in the depth chart. Kenny Pickett, if he wants to be the producer, the starting producer for the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. That's the least we could do for backup quarterback Kenny Pickett. All righty, let me get to the Cleveland Browns situation. So Deshaun Watson's going to be out for the season with the Achilles injury. Let's be abundantly clear about this. I'm actually going to defend the Cleveland Browns fans here for a second. I don't condone, I don't care how much you hate a player and how fed up you are with the player. I don't condone cheering a player when he gets hurt or booing a player when he gets hurt, either or. Now, sometimes when a player gets hurt, the only time you cheer is when they're taking the player off the field, right? And you give a round of applause after a certain amount of time has elapsed. But I don't know about you, Stu, and maybe it's tough to see and hear on video, but everything is now recorded in the year of 2024. I've seen the videos of the reaction in Cleveland. I don't hear audible cheers. And I'm not just talking, like I saw the video of the one jackass standing up and cheering, but that's one guy. Like the majority of the fans in the stadium, I don't think were cheering the Deshaun Watson injury yesterday. I don't even know if it was 10% of the fans in the stadium. And let me be clear, Deshaun Watson is not a good guy, all right? But still, you don't cheer when a player gets hurt. But I don't know, Stu. Obviously, I guess the cheers were loud enough if the players had such an intense reaction after the game. But players from time to time often tend to exaggerate. And that happens. So I don't know how to feel about this one, other than the fact that if I had like video evidence where it was clear that so many people were cheering, and I know people are going to say, well, one person cheering is way too much. You know, when you have alcohol being served to all those fans and your football team stinks in Cleveland, like, what else do you think is going to happen? But this idea that the Cleveland Brown fan is now a bad football fan because they were cheering Deshaun Watson, I need more proof before I say something like that. They were cheering for Deshaun Watson when he got hurt. Because maybe I'm wrong here, Stu. But, like, I saw this from afar yesterday, and I'm like, okay, now I want to – because I didn't see the injury happen. You know, I wasn't watching that game. I had a quad box yesterday of 4 games. Bengals and Browns weren't on the quad box, and then I had Red Zone. So when that popped up on Red Zone, you know, I'm like, oh, okay, he got hurt. You know, now the Browns can finally move on from Deshaun Watson, and we'll get into that conversation in just a second. That's kind of the way that I processed it. Quite frankly, I was disappointed he got hurt because he has not been a good quarterback. And now this will be spun as an excuse. And people in the Deshaun Watson camp will continue to say, oh, he could be good. He just needs a fair chance. He's got to He's had a bunch of unfortunate injuries and all that stuff. But this idea that Cleveland Browns fans were like so gross yesterday, I haven't seen the video. And if there's videos out there, fine. But I haven't seen the videos that suggest to me that the Cleveland Browns fans and the overall majority of Browns fans were cheering the Deshaun Watson injury yesterday still.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. Like, it's hard to tell on the TV watching it, whether it's the TV or even, seeing the crowd reaction on Twitter, or Twitter X. But it's just one of those things where I guess if the players say it was happening, they were there, it's probably easier for them to, they're right there, right? Like they're 10, 15 feet on the sideline by a bunch of fans that may have been cheering or whatnot. So
yeah, maybe it was, you would usually think that'd be done in the upper deck, right?
Right, not in the really expensive seats.
Maybe down low, right closest to the players, that's where it did occur. But I've only really seen upper deck videos, and I haven't really heard like these loud, audible cheers from Cleveland Browns fans. But here's the thing. I understand, right, that's your teammate. Whether you like Deshaun Watson or not for what he allegedly did off the field is a totally different story, right? I could understand, though, Browns players being upset, but to the level that it was grossly exaggerated after the game is just astonishing to me. And Myles Garrett is a heck of a player, but saying, and we'll play the audio in a bit, that Deshaun Watson has been a model citizen, you could criticize the fans. I never think it's a good idea to criticize the fans because when you get into a battle, fan-player, it usually never works out well for the player. But you're allowed to have a backbone. You're allowed to speak up. But when you are speaking up about cheering for a player when he got hurt, which if that did happen, terrible wrong. For you to say Deshaun Watson is a model citizen, and then also Deshaun Watson's quarterback coach, Quincy Avery, I know Maggie and Perloff have put him on, and everyone's allowed to do the show the way that they want. I would never put him on the air. The way that he has handled himself about Deshaun Watson, he's classless. And yesterday he tweets out, that was low class, can't really describe it as anything else, pretty gross from a group of fans. So let Quincy Avery do what he wants to do. And I know he probably doesn't get, it's like this some big threat, we're never going to put him on this show. Like, I'm comfortable in my own skin. I don't think higher of myself than I actually will. But anytime I've ever been pitched him, I'm like, no. Because his act with Deshaun Watson, I get it, right? Deshaun pays him, right? Quarterback coach, all that. Okay. You're not going to criticize your own guy. But how tone deaf that dude is, I've had enough with him. I really have. But Myles Garrett yesterday calling Deshaun Watson a model citizen? I'm not going to lie, Stu. I'll play that audio in a second. When I was sitting on my couch yesterday, had a great spread yesterday, by the way. Had a little chicken cutlet with mozzarella, some chicken fingers. There was a buffalo chicken dip. I was at a friend's 30th birthday party that we were all watching football together. The spread was to die for. They had a cookie dough ice cream cake and donuts. Oh, it was delicious. Absolutely delicious. But when I'm sitting there, and I'm still working, right? I got to pay attention to all the games. And when I'm perusing Twitter and I hear this Myles Garrett sound, this is how we're now programmed. I thought it was AI. I thought it was artificial intelligence where they just had Myles Garrett up there and it's not something that he really said. I'm like, Myles, who has changed his image a big way from the helmet swing incident, right? He's a heck of a player. You can't be this stupid. You can't be saying that Deshaun Watson is a model citizen. You want to get after the fans for cheering the injury? I understand it. If you felt like enough fans were cheering, I haven't seen the videos that suggest that fans, like it was a ridiculous amount of fans cheering. I don't condone cheering a player, even though I can't stand Deshaun Watson, who I used to like. Even though I can't stand him, I'm not saying you cheer when a guy gets hurt. But to say that Deshaun Watson is a model citizen, that's when your point just doesn't get heard because people are going to be outraged by you calling a guy with all the allegations, and I know they settled, of serious things that did go on when we talk about allegedly sexually abusing women, all right? And harassing women, okay? Serious things. And you're going to call the guy that was accused of that settled? Like, what, 20-something counts? As a model citizen? Here is the unbelievable audio. I still think it's AI, but I know it's not. Here is Myles Garrett on the fans supposedly cheering Watson when he got hurt.
No one deserves that. I've seen him work his ass off to get back in here and put a smile on his face and try to put everything that's outside the facility behind him. Death threats, people come to his house, people going after his family. Like I said, no one deserves that. No, man does pretty much everything right. He's been a model citizen through college and most of the pros. He plays the game as hard as anyone I've seen. Puts everything on the line, willing to throw his body out there. We have to be there for him as a team, as an organization. We can't look down on the guy because of any mistakes on the field or anything off the field. We don't have any more high ground to look down on the guy.
You could look down on someone for something that happened off the field and also acknowledge that in your interactions with him in the locker room, he's incredibly hardworking. But I would not go to the level of saying he's a model citizen and he does everything right. Come on. And here is Jameis Winston, who also wanted to jump in on this party on going off on the fans for cheering for the Watson injury.
The way I was raised, I was taught to love no matter the circumstances, especially for people who do right by you. I'm grateful that I had a chance to serve Deshaun, but I am very upset with the reaction to a man that has had the world against him for the past 4 years, and he put his body and life on the line for this city every single day, regardless of your perception, regardless of what you thought should happen with him. He committed every single day that I've been here to be the best that he can be for this team. I will never pull on a man when he's down. And I do not want the treatment that Deshaun Watson has received from these passionate fans. I know you love this game, but Deshaun was treated badly.
Deshaun Watson, according to Myles Garrett and Jameis Winston, is the victim. That's how that sounded like. Like, anything that happened off the field, forget about it. How dare you cheer him when he gets hurt? I'm not saying that's right. That's not right. But you don't go to the level where this dude's a model citizen and he does everything right and you got to love the guy. And you make it out like he's been a victim for the last 4 years with the world against him? Well, Jameis, whose fault is that? It's Deshaun Watson. That's whose fault it is, the world being against him. So I understand saying no one should be cheered when they get hurt. I understand that argument. There is a way to relay that argument when talking to the media. But taking it from that to the world's been against Deshaun Watson. He's been unfairly treated for 4 years. He's a model citizen. Are we talking about the same Deshaun Watson that I've been talking about for the last 4 years? Stop. Just stop. Like Myles Garrett, Jameis Winston, they come from a good place. But when you go to the level that they did, where they're coming from just seems incredibly, and I mean incredibly, tone deaf. And you just don't get it. You don't. And you know what? Personally, and obviously, I never want to see somebody get hurt. It stinks. But I'm disappointed now that he gets hurt and that he got hurt. And he's been hurt for the majority of his time in Cleveland because it gives an excuse to Deshaun for the Deshaun camp to say, hey, he's still a good quarterback. Don't worry. Even though he hasn't been a good quarterback since 2020, he's just had a bunch of injuries, and that's why he's no longer good. There's more to that. But here is now where it starts, where Deshaun is done in Cleveland. I know he's got 2 years left on the deal. Whether it's Jameis Winston or Dorian Thompson-Robinson, whoever, this team without Deshaun Watson last year was a great football team. Now, with Deshaun Watson this year, they've been one of the worst teams in the league. So it's one thing to still believe that Deshaun could be good. I don't know how you can. Well, I do. You either got to be related to him or you got to be getting paid by him. All right? Those are the only two ways. Like, I'll just be real. But if somehow the Browns start to play better without him, you can't tell me, oh, it's because of the injuries why he's no longer good. Because last year, this team, when he wasn't on the field, was better than when he was on the field. And they've done everything to protect Deshaun in Cleveland by not even giving Joe Flacco a contract offer, when Joe should be the backup quarterback on this team. Quite frankly, Joe should be the starter on this team. But with him now being out for the rest of the year, and who knows when he comes back, no one's ever going to view him as a legitimate starting quarterback of the Cleveland Browns again. This was the make-or-break year, right? This was the last stand. You got 2 years left in the deal. They're paying him either way. Whether he's on the roster or not is irrelevant. But the Browns now need to start thinking about replacing him. And they're going to have an early pick this year, and thankfully they have their pick. They got to draft a quarterback early on in this draft. Zach Gelb here with you on the Infinity Sports Network. If you want to discuss this situation, 855-212-4227, 855-212-4227. Maybe Andrew Berry, I'll end with a joke. Maybe Andrew Berry should end up christening California Kenny Pickett's agent, pretty much, and get Kenny Pickett to Cleveland. You know? Maybe, Cleveland could use a starting quarterback. Maybe get Kenny Pickett there. All righty, we will take a break. When we come on back, who has the best chance to take down the Kansas City Chiefs this year? I have 3 teams. 2 are in the NFC, and 1 is in the AFC.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
All right, it is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We were just talking about the Deshaun Watson situation. I'll get to my 3 teams that had the best chance to dethrone the Chiefs this year in just a second. Let's go to the phones first, though. 855-212-4227, 855-212-4227. We'll take one here. Let's go to Terry in Texas, who wants to chime in on the Browns fans against Deshaun Watson. Terry, thanks for joining us. How you doing?
Not too bad. Listen, I don't understand what they did wrong. That dude should have never been on the football field in the first place. He's a borderline, if not, he should be a registered sex offender. I mean, if he didn't have the means and the celebrity to pay off all those victims and get himself out of it, he'd be getting pummeled in a jail cell right now, and so would Garrett and so would Winston for sticking up for him. They're just as suspect as he is. At the end of the day, the league allows what they allow, and they got double standards and everything, but these players, they talk out of both sides of their mouth. On one hand, they say, oh, it's just a game, and this, that, and the other when it suits them. When you're talking about somebody that affected real people's lives, you're trying to talk like just because he could or used to could throw a ball, that somehow he's better or special or above the law. That dude deserves everything bad that happens to him for the rest of his life, and I could care less. Them victims were probably cheering, and the fans deserve to be able to do it. It's disgusting that he was even on the field because the Browns made a bad investment in a sex offender. That's what it is. What it is. Sometimes you call it how you see it, and that's what he is. You know what I mean?
Terry, appreciate the phone call. Thanks so much. Here's what I'll say, because Terry brings up a fascinating point. How much does this go back to the performance? And what I mean by that, Cleveland Browns fans, I'm not saying all of them, because like Pat Boyle, who works here, he used to be a Cleveland Browns fan. He gave up being a Cleveland Browns fan when they traded for and then paid Deshaun Watson. He said, I'm done with him. And if that's a stand you want to take, okay. More than fine with that stand. But if Deshaun Watson, let's say, was playing like 2019 and 2020 Deshaun Watson, and that injury happens yesterday, and let's say the Browns are rolling, Deshaun Watson's getting a standing ovation yesterday. He is. And it's not, oh, let's cheer for him because he got hurt. It would be, we got to give him the sympathy clap when he walks off the field. So there are Browns fans that were willing to ignore what did transpire. And the organization is the first people to start with because they believed he could be a good quarterback. And that's the NFL. We've seen people abuse women. We've seen people abuse children. We've seen people murder, go to jail, sometimes not go to jail, and then get back on a football field. And if your talent is good enough, the reality of the situation is people either ignore or forgive and forget. So it would have been a much different tone yesterday in Cleveland if Watson was playing great, but he's not. And let me be abundantly clear on this. I do not condone cheering for a player when he gets hurt. I don't. I think if you cheer when a player gets hurt in a malicious way, not just like, hey, the round of applause that you give when someone gets taken off the field, that's different. I don't think that's right. But with that being said, and I'll say what I said in the last segment again, to the level that Myles Garrett took it to, and Jameis Winston took it to, that the world's been against him, and that Myles Garrett called him a model citizen, we're not stupid. All right? Because as offended as you were with the supposed cheering that happened when Deshaun Watson got hurt, you calling him a model citizen is not only equally offensive, it's way more offensive. But I'm not stupid here. I'm sure a lot of the fans that were cheering him yesterday, the fans that were, and I haven't heard like these crazy cheers like the players are making it out to be, but the players said they heard it, so, who am I to question it, I guess. But if Watson was playing well, those fans, let's say like, 150, let me just throw out there, just for argument's sake, were cheering. I would bet you about like 145 wouldn't be cheering if he was playing great. If not all 150. So that's the way that I kind of look at it. All right? And Deshaun Watson had a lot of things happen off the field. Who's responsible for it? Deshaun Watson. With the accusations that were made his way. And what he allegedly did. Okay? To me, that's not forgivable. But in the NFL, it's forgivable because if you're not in a jail cell, you're on a football field. And if you could win, people will be chanting and cheering for you. It's just the reality of the situation. All righty. Best chance, we'll have like an awkward pivot here. I'll just do it. To take down the Chiefs moving forward. Stu, let me ask you this. If we were doing a draft and I said to you, who has the best chance in preventing the Chiefs from three-peating this year? And I gave you the first pick, who would your pick be?
Interesting. So I'd be between two teams. The team I would go with would be the Ravens.
The Ravens. Who's the other team that you're between?
I think right now it's the Lions.
I'm the same way.
They just look so good. Even with Hutchinson's injury, they just look so good, especially offensively. I don't know. They just seem like they're starting to distance themselves a little from the rest of the NFC teams. And
maybe I'm wrong here. But is the reason why you go Ravens 1 and the Lions 2, it's because the Ravens play in the AFC? And there's a better chance that the Ravens see them in the playoffs than, even though I think the Lions are going to the Super Bowl, than the Lions seeing the Chiefs in the Super Bowl.
That's part of it for sure.
Yeah. So I would tend to agree with you. I think who do you think is the better team? Ravens or Lions?
It's close. I would say Ravens. I still think it's the Ravens, but it's really close.
I think the better overall team is the Ravens. The team, though, I would fear more are the Lions. Because there is still part of me, even though I believe Derrick Henry could be the MVP of the NFL right now. And I've always been a believer in Lamar Jackson. After seeing last year where they were blowing out every team, had home field advantage, the Chiefs offense played a subpar game in the AFC Championship game, and it still wasn't good enough. There's part of me where it's like, I don't want to get fooled again. I don't want to get my heart broken again, right? And sometimes, right, you break up with someone, the ex calls you back, and you're like, oh, I remember the good times. I'm all back in the relationship. And after 2 months, it's like, whoop, that was a mistake. Same old person. Big reason why we were no longer a couple for a while. And that's my fear with the Ravens. That is. The Lions, what they've done in the last year and a half, 2 years, beating Green Bay last game of the season, the dominant season last year. I know they blew it in the NFC title game. There's still an unknown curiosity factor on placing a limitation on the Lions. So I think the Lions would be the team I'd be more confident in taking down the Ravens. But if take down the Chiefs. But if the Ravens had another game up against the Chiefs, they can beat them. Now, here's the thing. We both had the same answer. It was Ravens and Lions, the two teams that we had the most confidence in taking down the Chiefs. Who's the team that's in the hole? Who's the team that you're monitoring? Not at the plate, not on the on-deck circle. Like, okay, if that batter strikes out, then the guy on deck, he strikes out. Who's the guy? Who's the team that's in the hole? Who would be the third team that you would say, okay, that's the next team that I look at that would have the best chance to take down a Kansas City team, which, by the way, they haven't even played their best brand of football on offense. They've had all these injuries, and they have still been better than everybody this year, and their defense, again, has been the strength, which is crazy that defensive side of the ball is better than the offensive side of the ball when Kansas City has Patrick freaking Mahomes, who's not only the best quarterback in the sport, but the best player in the sport. So who's that third team?
I know they lost yesterday, but I still think the Texans could be that team.
Wow.
Yeah. I just like what I've seen from Stroud. I thought there'd be a drop-off from the last year. And, again, I know they lost yesterday, but there really hasn't been too much of that. They'll get healthy. They'll get Nico Collins back. I just think they're a really good team.
So I'm a big Stroud fan, but you know where he's lost me? When he speaks to these younger quarterbacks, like he did it with Caleb Williams. He also did it with Drake May. There is a year of NFL difference between the two of you. So to act like you are the 15-year NFL veteran with 3 Super Bowl rings and a Hall of Fame jacket ready for you, and then only throw, 86 passing yards yesterday? Not a good look.
No.
For C.J. Stroud.
It's a little weird. There's something that's a little weird going on for sure.
I actually thought you were going to say, when you said teams that lost yesterday, I thought you were going to say the Vikings with the way that their defense is playing. I know there's still a question about Sam Darnold, but he's been more obviously good than bad this year, and they're just loaded on offense, and they're eventually getting Hockenson back. When you said, I know they lost yesterday, I thought you were going 2 places. Either you just be like every other Tom, Dick, and Harry and be obnoxious and take the 49ers, which there's not tangible evidence this year to take the 49ers, or I thought you were going to take the Minnesota Vikings. Why not Minnesota?
I don't know. I know they've been really good. I still just need to see a little more. And I think once we get to playoff time and deep in the playoffs, there's still a little part of me that doesn't necessarily trust Darnold. And I know he's been really good so far this season. Maybe that's totally unfair, but that's just where I'm at.
My team is the Packers, the third team. I agree. Ravens, and I agree the Lions are the 2 teams with the best chance of taking down Kansas City when it matters. After that, it's the Packers. They won 2 games without Love. That means great coaching with Matt LaFleur. Their secondary is really damn good. They did an awesome job up against the team that you mentioned, the Texans, yesterday, with C.J. Stroud. And offensively, they could still play better. And I know Love, he's very risky, but he won't be afraid of the moment. He may throw a pick in the moment, but he's not afraid of the moment. He's that gunslinger type of quarterback like Favre was. All right, this is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We will come on back with a little no-huddle offense, Week 7 edition. But first, the latest Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash. Here is the Act-Man, Rich Ackerman.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
Well, the Niners' Brandon Ayuk suffered a major knee injury yesterday, suffering a torn ACL, MCL, and there could be more damage. His season is obviously over, and the injury comes several weeks after he was fortunate enough to sign a major extension. Tua Tagovailoa set to return for the Dolphins this week after missing 4 games with a concussion. The Dolphins went 1-3 in his absence. They won't have Braxton Berrios, who's done for the year with a torn ACL. Commanders quarterback Jaden Daniels is considered week to week with a rib injury. Head coach Dan Quinn said he'll practice this week and they will evaluate him later. They are hopeful he can go next weekend. The Raiders will be without quarterback Aiden O'Connell for 4 to 6 weeks with a broken thumb, while Deshaun Watson officially done with a torn Achilles. Monday Night Football, twice as nice this week, with the Ravens going for their 5th straight win in Tampa. The second game of the night features the Chargers and Cardinals in Arizona. From the NBA, the Pelicans and Troy Murphy reportedly agree to a 4-year, $112 million extension. Jalen Green and the Rockets come to terms on a 3-year deal. I'm Rich Ackerman.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Follow us on X. Our handle is INF Sports Network. That's INF Sports Network on X.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
this is Howie.
And this is Nick.
We're the Backstreet Boys, and you're listening to the Zach Gelb Show. And guess what? Zach is back. All right.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Oh my God, we're back again.
All right, it's time to answer Ask the Pros question of the day, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Todd in Baltimore says, Zach, what do you like tonight in the two games? What are you betting on? You could submit a question by tweeting at INF Sportsnet or at Zach Gelb using the hashtag Ask the Pros. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts. I love cooking up anytime touchdown parlays. That is my favorite thing to do when it comes to gambling. That and betting off golf majors on who's going to be like the outright winner. So yesterday on my Twitter page, at Zach Gelb, ZACHGELB, I posted one bet yesterday. And it was an anytime touchdown parlay at plus 526. Nick Chubb, Saquon Barkley, and Kyron Williams. Winner, winner, winner. So tonight, I will do an anytime touchdown parlay. You got the Ravens and the Bucks, and that's at 8:15 p.m. Eastern time. You get the Chargers and the Cardinals at 9 p.m. Eastern time. I will go with Bucky Irving of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I will then take James Conner. Parlay that, anytime touchdown, plus 390. Bucky Irving to get in the end zone, James Conner to get in the end zone at plus 390. All righty, Stu. Let's rock and roll. No huddle offense, week 7.
Touchdowns, sacks, upsets, and last-minute heroics. Another NFL Sunday is in the books, and we've got you covered with the biggest plays and sound bites from another wild week in the National Football League. It's time for No Huddle Offense on the Zach Gelb Show.
All righty, let's do it. We start off with the Sunday Night Football game. It was the Steelers 37, the Jets 15. Aaron Rodgers, 276 yards passing in the game, a touchdown and 2 interceptions. One was Garrett Wilson's fault, but I'm not making excuses for Aaron Rodgers. 6 interceptions in his last 3 games. 7 or fewer interceptions 10 times. I'm assuming that's in a season would be the stat that is here. But Breece Hall had 141 total touchdowns and 141 total yards at a touchdown. Devontae Adams, 3 for 30 yards. Garrett Wilson had 5 for 61 yards. And Russell Wilson in the game, that was the story, 264 yards, 3 total TDs. And Najee Harris had 102 yards and a touchdown. George Pickens, 5 for $111 and a TD score. Let's hear Russell Wilson, an 11-yard touchdown pass to George Pickens.
Wilson gets the snap, back to pass, throws a fade, right corner of the end zone. Pickens is there, makes the catch, touchdown Steelers. An 11-yard touchdown from Russell Wilson to George Pickens. The first touchdown catch of the year for Pickens, and the Steelers have pulled within 3.
Stu, what's the question that we got cooking up here with the Jets and the Steelers?
All right, do you think the Steelers are a Super Bowl threat?
No. They haven't won a playoff game since 2016. They have a heck of a defense. They're still figuring things out on what their identity is on the offense side of the ball. Mike Tomlin's a really good coach. But can I see this team, like let's assume they don't have the one bye. Can I see this team winning a wild card weekend, divisional round weekend, and then conference championship weekend? I do not. I do not consider the Steelers as a Super Bowl threat. There's not a lot of Super Bowl threats this year. So if one team gets knocked out that is considered the standard, it could make for what would be a very, very funky Super Bowl. All right, talking about Super Bowl rematch, the Kansas City Chiefs and the San Francisco 49ers. This was all Kansas City. Even when Kansas City made some mistakes early on, the Niners could not capitalize. The Chiefs won this game 28-18. Mahomes, another pedestrian game, 154 yards, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Second time in his career with 2 straight 0-touchdown games. And the running attack for Kansas City was working yesterday. Kareem Hunt found the end zone 2 times. Travis Kelce had 4 catches for 17 yards. They didn't have a wide receiver with over 20 yards in this one. So it just shows you where the Chiefs' offense is at right now. But it doesn't matter because the defense was sensational. Defense continues to be the better unit compared to the Chiefs' defense and the Chiefs' offense. Brock Purdy, yikes. He wasn't rocking out with his Brock out yesterday, and he was not looking pretty awesome. 212 passing yards, No touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Did have 2 rushing touchdowns, though. And Kittle was 6 for 92 in this one. But, geez, that was an ugly, ugly game for Brock Purdy. Let's listen up to the Jaden Hicks interception of Brock Purdy for a score.
Purdy wants to throw out of the shotgun. Hit as he throws. The pass intercepted. Intercepted a yard deep in the end zone. It'll be a touchback. It's intercepted. The rookie, Jaden Hicks, picks it off, twists his body. The 3rd time in this game. Brock Purdy has been picked, and twice by rookies, Dana Hughes. Twice by rookies. This one is in the end zone.
And that's when they were going for a score, I should have said. But that was the bad decision-making by Brock Purdy yesterday. All righty, Stu. Chiefs, Niners, the Super Bowl rematch. What is the prevailing question after this one?
Is there a way that the Chiefs could actually go undefeated?
I thought yesterday they were going to get got. I was outrageously confident in the Niners. I looked at the entire board. I liked the Niners the best out of any team yesterday in terms of the spread. Here's the Chiefs' schedule the rest of the way. Raiders, Bucks, Broncos, Bills, Panthers, Raiders, Chargers, Browns, Texans, Steelers, Broncos. It's possible. But I think the way that the offense plays, even though I believe the offense is going to be a lot better, it's not me doubting the offense, they'll get picked off at least one time this year in the regular season. Come playoff time, I don't know if anyone's picking them off. But in the regular season, I think they'll get picked off once. Let's start it off with the audio. Lions at Vikings. Lions were in control. Vikings then found a way to take the lead. And then it was like, is Detroit going to lose this game? I go, weird game. Vikings out of the gate were awesome. Then the Lions looked like they were the best team. Then you had the Montgomery fumble. And then, the Vikings are going to win. No, the Lions go on a drive. And Jake Bates, he did the Costco guy celebration. We bring the boom! And he started doing the kicking. I'm sitting down, so if you're watching on YouTube, I can't do the kicking. But let's listen up to Jake Bates on that game-winning 44-yard field goal.
There's the snap. There's the spot. Kick away. It is up, and it is good! Jake Bates sends it through! With 15 seconds to go, the Lions have taken the lead. It is Detroit 31 and the Vikings 29. Jake Bates comes up huge in a big opportunity that might just have sent the Detroit Lions into first place in the NFC North.
And the Lions had 280 yards passing from their quarterback, Jared Goff, 2 touchdowns, 3rd straight game with the 140 quarterback rating or above. And how about this stat from Shefty, Adam Schefter? Stat of the day. In their past 4 games, the Detroit Lions have scored more touchdowns, 16, than Jared Goff has had incompletions of 15. That's a wonderful stat. Jahmyr Gibbs was awesome in this game, 160 total yards, 2 touchdowns. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 8 for $112 and a touchdown. He could be my favorite player in the NFL. Darnold did complete 82% of his passes, 259 yards, touchdown, and a pick. Aaron Jones, 93 yards and a touchdown. And Jay Jettas, 7 for 81 in the catch department for a score. Stu, what's the question here?
Yeah, speaking of Darnold, what should the Vikings do with him next season when J.J. McCarthy is back healthy?
They continue to do this. I think you got to start Darnold early on and see how much longer Darnold could take this, even though you just used the 10th overall pick in the draft on J.J. McCarthy. But with the way that Darnold's playing, I can't sit him right now when we're talking about next year, but there's still a whole lot of football left. All righty, let's hear Geno Smith. This was awesome. 31-yard touchdown pass to DK Metcalf as the Seahawks just absolutely abused the Falcons.
3-man rush. Geno steps up. He's going to throw to the end zone. Got DK. He's got it. Touchdown, Seahawks. What a bullet thrown by Geno Smith. DK Metcalf again between 2 defenders underneath the goalposts. Makes the reception on an absolute dime from 31 out. Holy catfish. What a play by the Hawks. And the fans here in Atlanta are just stunned.
And an MCL sprain emerging from this one for one DK Metcalf. He is week to week. At the end of that half, I'm like, why are they throwing the football? I'm like, that's why they threw a touchdown. And Geno Smith had 207 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Kenneth Walker, 69 yards, 2 total touchdowns on his birthday. So happy belated birthday to him. DK Metcalf, you heard the score. He had 99 yards receiving. And Kirk Cousins, 232 yards, a touchdown, 2 picks. Bijan Robinson, 143 total yards and a score. Stu, question?
What is your level of confidence that the Seahawks can win the NFC West?
If it's not the 49ers, it should be them. Cardinals I don't believe in. Rams are too banged up. But I would still say that the Niners could limp to win the NFC West. I don't love the Niners going back to the Super Bowl, but limp to go win the NFC West crown, I think they could do that. All righty, let's hear Brandon McManus making his debut for the Packers. 45-yard game-winning field goal. Pack beat the Texans 24-22.
Hand in hand. Here's the snap. Low snap. Placement made. Kick to the upright. And it is good! Yes! It is good! Yes! It is good! The Green Bay Packers have won! Brandon McManus, 45-yard field goal. Welcome to Green Bay. And a Lambeau leap to the north end zone stands. What a ball game.
Jordan Love, 220 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Josh Jacobs did have a receiving score and 76 yards rushing. Joe Mixon, he was awesome in this one, 115 yards, 2 touchdowns. Stephon Diggs needed to be better without Nico Collins, 5 receptions for 23 yards. And C.J. Stroud, yikes, only 86 yards passing. It's the second time in his career under 100 passing yards. Stu, your question for this one, por favor.
Do you still consider the Texans to be a legitimate Super Bowl contender?
Yes, because it's the Chiefs, the Ravens, and then it's open. Bills, Texans would be the next 2 teams I think of. All right, let's squeeze in the final highlight. Bengals beat the Browns. Here is Joe Burrow, 25-yard TD strike to T. Higgins.
Burrow catches the shotgun snap, throws, caught by Higgins, running to the 10, 5, touchdown! Nice. Bengals, T. Higgins, high-stepping it into the end zone, and now he tosses the ball high into the air as he looks into the dog pound after that touchdown grab.
Burrow, 181 yards passing in this game, 2 touchdowns, 14 touchdowns, 2 INTs on the season. But the story from this one, Stu, has to do with Deshaun Watson, who's now out for the season with the Achilles injury.
Yeah, do you want to see Jameis start the rest of the way for Cleveland?
I think and we got to see the health of Dorian Thompson-Robinson since he's younger. I think you go with him, but I don't think he's a franchise quarterback. So, yeah, at least Jameis has the confidence. He's going to fire maybe 30 touchdowns, but also 30 interceptions. He does that in Cleveland. He may be starting somewhere else next year, because that'd be pretty impressive. You get 30 touchdowns in Cleveland halfway through the season. So, sure, I'd rather see Jameis. I think it's more fun to see Jameis Winston play. And it would be a really bad look if the Browns start to play better without Deshaun Watson. I'm not saying they do what they did last year because they made the playoffs last year. This team's not making the playoffs, but that would really be something. All righty, fun show today. Big thanks to Stu. Big thanks to Samter. Big thanks to Jamaal Charles. Big thanks to each and every one of you. We'll be back tomorrow with Puka Nacua and Robert Horry, as we got a whole lot to do in the NFL and even a little NBA preview world. But we'll talk to you then at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. We out. Bye-bye. Peace.
You're in a 5-minute break.